Today is June 8th, 2019, and welcome back to the Gentlemen's Club. I'm here with my co-host, as always, GTG. What's going on, Special Agent?
I'm doing great. Doing great, boss. How about you?
Pretty good. You and I were just talking about that boxing match recently. What was your take on it? I thought it was a great underdog match, but I've been watching fight sports for a while.
You have indeed. We've talked about this a little bit, but okay. So I'm not saying that I expected Anthony Josh to go in there and just clean house and beat that kid in like 4 or 5 rounds and that's it. I'm not saying that. I will also be the first one to tell anybody who's listening that you should never count somebody out by how they look. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll give Lewis, it's Lewis Jr., I think his name is, right? I'll give him that. Like, because the kid has a hefty record. Like, I guess it's like in the amateurs. He's like 100 plus and 5. You know what I'm saying? And he's Mexican. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, them guys are fucking fighters, bro. Like, tooth and goddamn nail. You can do nothing but respect that. My thing is with Josh is one, and this is just from someone who's seen all of the fights that meant anything, I should say, as it pertains to Josh, is that one, he did not look like he was ready to fight for whatever reason. I don't know if he took the guy for granted. I don't know what happened, but he just didn't look like he was interested. 2, he's always had a problem with shorter guys, and no one points that out. And I don't know if it comes from the fact that he can't utilize his jab properly against someone who's a tad bit smaller, despite the fact that the guy was much wider. I don't know, but he wasn't utilizing the jab properly. And then you're letting the dude close the gap in on you and do all these swings, and you can't really avoid them, but you're not blocking them properly either. And what is slipping through is enough to obviously to get you off balance. I don't know. I have a lot of problems with that fight. I mean, like I said, I'm happy that the kid won. He's the first Mexican heavyweight champion?
Yeah, I believe so.
So in boxing, history is always important. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like when Roy Jones ended up moving from light heavyweight to heavyweight and shit and whatnot, or went from cruiserweight to all the way to heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? He was the first man to do it in 100 years, or 100 plus years. So I get it. Boxing's all about making history and so on and so forth. It's just. And I'm not trying to say that boxing's fixed, despite the fact that boxing is fixed. But it's just he didn't look right that night. Like I said, Lewis Jr., I think that's his name. He did everything what he was supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? He did everything he was supposed to do. My hat goes off to him 110%. It's just if Josh wasn't feeling like fighting, he shouldn't have fought that night. It's very obvious that there's something slightly off. You know what I mean? And whatever the case may be. But then again, he's a gladiator. He went out there. He did his thing. Win, lose, or draw. It's just, I have problems. He looked ill-prepared for that fight, too. Not necessarily, because you can be chiseled and not be in shape, obviously. I have issues. I have concerns. And though the rematch is already lined up and everything like that, if I'm Josh, fuck that. I don't want to. I want my rematch clause, don't get me wrong. But I'll wait. Let this dude go off against Wilder and fucking let them beat the hell out of each other, and then take the dude on, then take whatever's left in 6 months and whatnot, and then clean up and get all the belts. Do whatever you got to do. It's just, I don't know. I just feel like Josh wasn't there. He wasn't there like he was supposed to. I just have a problem. That's my only issue, I guess. It is what it is.
Yeah, to me, he just had he wasn't tuned up. He must have had a poor camp. He must have took the kid a little lighter and just thought he could just breeze on through and outmuscle him and work that crispy jabby ass, but he just looked off. Like he didn't scout Luis Jr. at all. Nothing like that. It just looked like he got out camped.
Yeah, I agree. And the kid was motivated going in. You know what I'm saying? The kid was absolutely motivated. So, I'll give him that one. I'll definitely give him that. I don't know, man. I mean, like I said, dude, at the end of the day, the kid won. And then, like I said, we see what happens next. If I'm Joshua, I'd just wait. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have to enact his clause right now. Let the heavyweight scene kind of, fix itself to where it needs to be, let him swoop back in, take his belts, then beat the next like 4 or 5 guys who comes up, and then it's a wrap. Well, yeah, he'd have to beat the next 4 or 5 guys, and it's a wrap. Now I think about it, wasn't Lewis like a last minute, Lewis Jr., wasn't he like a last minute replacement?
Yeah, he was. He was ready to go. He got called up to the big leagues and swung for the fences. And
that's what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do in combat sports, though.
Gotta take those opportunities when they come to you. You never know how often you're gonna get them.
No, you're right, 100%. But that's just how I feel about that. Like I said, we'll see how everything plays itself out in the upcoming weeks. But like I said, I'm happy the kid won. You know what I'm saying? And I was, and as it pertains to Mexican fighters, damn, I can't even remember anybody in the heavyweight division that might have been Mexican that was worth talking about in the last.
I can't recall anybody.
Yeah, so that's a big push there. But then again, if you think about it, Mexican fighters though have always stayed in the lighter weights. You know what I'm saying? For obvious reasons, So it always made sense. But they always were the better fights though. Always.
Oh yeah, they always put on entertaining fights, no matter what weight or who's actually in the ring. It's just kind of their style to step in and bang if they want to.
Yeah, the bangers, all right. Jesus Christ, they were all bangers. God damn. Kind of reminds me of the what fight was that? Was that Maurice Taylor versus Julio Cesar Chavez, where that had the controversial stoppage and shit?
Yeah, that was a rough stoppage.
And Maurice Taylor was basically messed up for life because like he had taken all those head blows. He had taken all those body blows. Like he was like already pissing blood. Like by like I think it said 8th or 9th round.
He was a mess.
Yeah, he was a mess. And the thing is if the ref didn't stop the fight because Maurice Taylor's trainer didn't jump up on the fucking apron, Maurice Taylor would have won because he was winning in the cards anyway. And interestingly enough, I think Chavez even said, I think it was Julio Cesar Chavez that he fought. Or was it Hector Camacho? No, it was Chavez. I'm pretty sure it was Chavez he was fighting.
I think
either way, whoever it was that he was fighting said that they were gonna give up anyway because everything they were doing wasn't stopping the kid, and they already knew that they were down anyway, and whatnot, and they knew they weren't gonna knock the kid out. You know what I'm saying? Because the kid, he's Maurice Taylor. He's what, Philly? Yeah, so traditional Philly style. You know what I'm saying? Chin's literally buried in your fucking chest. And those guys are built tough. Those guys are built tough. They don't get a lot of respect, or they don't get the respect they deserve. But them guys in Philly have always been strong fighters. Kind of makes me want to shit on what's your name, dude? Bernard Hopkins, but I'm not going to.
Don't shit on B-Hop, please.
He outweighed a division for 10 plus years, and they wonder why no one ever beat him. You know what I'm saying? He was fighting at 100 and man, oh man, I can't remember what he was fighting at. He was fighting at 170, 180 pounds, but he was walking around at like 200. But he could cut weight, and he could cut weight fast. And he could do it without exhausting himself because how prison works and how prison cutting works and shit like that.
I know how any kind of cutting like that works, and it all sucks.
Oh yeah, it sucks really, really bad. But he did it for years. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the whole time he was in prison, he did it. And then he did it his whole professional career. And then he's disciplined too. Like Bernard Hopkins, for all the shit that he's done to like his cousin, for example, or nephew, who's obviously a Hopkins, but he doesn't want to really. He only wants to help his career when it benefits him, even though the kid's a really good fighter. Some of his shitty business deals and so on and so forth. Bernard Hopkins is disciplined. He's super disciplined. Like the dude was like, I heard a story, man, where this guy was literally eating turkey all year, because it was a championship year. Like he knew he was going to have like 4 fights, guaranteed at least 4 fights that were all going to be championship bouts that he had to defend, and he kept his weight down by doing that. Turkey and water for a fucking year. Get out of here. I'm not doing that.
Dude, no thank you. I've done wrestler diets where it's just like salad and tuna and like some water and in a small bowl, and you're doing it every day for like 2 months to keep weight down. It sucks.
And he did that for a year.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine a year of like turkey, broccoli, and water, and that's it. But God, it fucking works.
Oh, yeah, it does. It does. It should melt weight off you. Melt weight off you.
Yeah, unlike the breakfast you and I always talk about. I mean, heck, every time I open up one of your videos nowadays, it's just instantly mouth-watering.
My dude, like, it's like I tell people, dude, like you treat every day. You treat every day as your last. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is not the concept of dying. If you're scared of dying, then you're scared of living. So you're kind of caught yourself in a catch-22. But the thing is like, as it pertains to food, as it pertains to work, as it pertains to exercise, as it pertains to hanging out with your friends, as it pertains to lovemaking, as it pertains to all that shit, you treat that shit like it's your last. You know what I'm saying? So no matter what I do, I try to make sure that I go hard in the motherfucking paint, just in case that's my last time. Just in case. And whatnot. It makes life meaningful. You
right?
Know what I'm saying? If not, you start taking advantage of shit.
I live by the motto of life is too short for a bad beer.
It's getting shorter.
Yeah, it always does, but you know, you gotta enjoy it.
That's a good motto, though. It's a good motto. I like that, though.
Yeah. So,
all right. Yeah, so what's on the menu, boss?
You're telling me a little bit about DSP and his last night shenanigans about messing up a lovely anonymous tip. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, this idiot DSP, and he's truly an idiot. I mean that in every sense of the word. He has fed us the lie for the last, 3-4 months. Maybe even longer. No, it hadn't been like the last 2 or 3 months. That
it's been about 3 months.
About 3 months? Thank you. With Twitch's new anonymous tipping and cheering system, that no one can see who you are if you tip anonymously, or if you cheer anonymously, and he can't see who you are. Well, last night, and this is just the way I saw it, but the chat that I was in, I was watching Tevin at the time, Almighty Tevin, praise be. From what I saw, what I heard, and from what everybody else, I think, for the most part, saw or heard in that chat, he sat there and was tipped anonymously. We all saw it, but he ended up giving credit to Coachello or whoever that dude is. He's like a regular in Phil's chat. And not only does he shout him out, but he puts him up on the board on his little shout out thing. Exactly. But then someone calls him out in the chat and was like, why do you have that dude's name up there if the guy tipped anonymously? And then for like 15 seconds fills in this scramble to try to make good on what he's doing because he doesn't want anybody to figure out that the fix is in. But sorry, that's why you have detractors. So the fix is in.
Yeah, so here's how it works for you guys out there who are listening who have never got a donation in from a stream. So even if it comes in as anonymous, shows up anonymous, you get their PayPal-like username attached to that payment. So you will see their PayPal username. And what Phil did was accidentally go ahead and type up in the leaderboard Coachella, because that was his username on PayPal, even though he donated it to him anonymously. So he's been lying to his fan base for 3 months? And he just proved it. And gave us all a big heaping pile of gold dust.
Like I said, it goes back to the motto. You don't give Phil enough rope and he'll hang himself. He can't do nothing but do that. I promise you. It's so amazing.
It is. It really is. Like, that's why I don't get mad when all of a sudden he makes like $1,000 in a week. It doesn't even faze me. It's the beginning of the month. Those disability checks come rolling in for his fan base. I gotta splash some cash on the good old pig roach.
That's true. Actually, now that you brought that up, I'd like to ask you a question. Is that legal to use your disability check to donate to somebody else? That's not considered a charity. I
mean, I don't see... it's kind of a gray area, but I don't see an issue with it.
Interesting. Because I was wondering, because disability is considered like... what's the word for it? It's government help, basically.
Yeah, it's almost like a form of social security, if you will.
Okay, fair enough. Aren't you supposed to only apply that to, your general, I don't want to call it welfare, but to your general welfare and well-being instead of using it on someone else? And I don't mean to call this person out, but I'm going to say his name either which way. What's that dude's name? Is it Mr. Blind Man or Mr. Blind Man?
Yeah, Super Blind Man.
Thank you, Super Blind Man. Like, he makes it rain on Phil every once in a while, and I get it. It is what it is.
Yeah, it lines up with his disability check.
Yeah, but exactly. You're using disability money to do that, and I was just wondering what the area is.
Everybody is entitled to the right to pay for entertainment, be it as if they're actually entertained by Phil, or if they're like us and entertained about the whole train wreck that is Phil, and the concept of him as a relic of the past of the internet.
Good point. Actually, speaking of which, now that you brought that up about everybody has their right for entertainment, have you heard, or what are your thoughts, if you have heard, on that entertainment tax that they rolled out in Chicago?
Oh, I haven't heard of that. What's that about?
Okay, so Chicago has this anybody from the Chi, you kind of know what I'm talking about. They have this interesting little law that it's either already been rolled out or it's about to be, that because less people are going out to see different landmarks, going out to games, going out and kind of putting money back into Chicago's into Chicago's economy, basically through the form of entertainment. They now are trying to reserve, if not they've already passed it, the right to serve you with a entertainment tax. Now, this applies to basically PC and console owners. I think it's like $15 a month or some shit that you would basically pay the state because you're not spending your money outside. That's basically the long and short of it. I can get into more details at a later time, but
so would this go through like the government itself in the form of like city taxes, or would this be regulated, show up into like your internet providers or your cable service providers?
That's the thing. I'm not actually quite sure about that just yet. I'll continue to look into it, and then we can touch base on it. But it looks like it's run through the state. Like, I guess the government doesn't have their hands in that just yet, and that makes sense. And some of the other states that have also brought up some of their pros and cons to it, a lot of them are kind of looking at it and being like, "What do we care?" At the end of the day, like, let people kind of entertain themselves however which way they do or they want to. It's their choice.
Trust me, people in Illinois are about to entertain themselves very easily with the passing of recreational use marijuana now.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, they just passed it like last week. So the 1st of January. It's
a shame that Chaco Guzman has sat there and been sentenced to prison. That's a damn shame.
No, they actually put it into the bill that they're going to go ahead and release prisoners that got hooked on charges. But it's going to have to be scaled, obviously. I'm not going to kick out anybody who's like selling hundreds of pounds. But, like, if homie gets hooked up for 6 months for possession charges of, like, I don't know, an ounce, let the man out. Who cares?
Oh, touche. They got something like that in Seattle, too, right?
I believe so.
Or they let you out for small charges like that. That might be interesting, actually.
Heck, back in California, they wouldn't even blink an eye. They'd be like, oh, you only have an ounce? Here, let me give you some more.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, Illinois is now the 11th state that has legalized recreational use marijuana. And funny enough, Oakland, California just became the second city to legalize magic mushrooms.
What?
Yep.
Well, okay.
Now, Denver went ahead and did it first. And
right.
That's fine and dandy, but Oakland? It just doesn't make sense to me. Oakland has a ton of other issues to deal with. So hopefully they're more looking into the therapeutic side of stuff for, say, veterans and things along those lines.
Hopefully, but that was always going to be the problem with the legalization of anything as it pertains to what would be considered an illegal substance. Eventually, they'll have to legalize everything. It's the only way to go about it. Now, I know most of you are probably listening being like, you're crazy. They'd never legalize black tar heroin, for example. They don't have to. They can legalize a derivative of it, or something that gives you the same type of effects. They can go about it in a bunch of different ways. As it pertains to the legalization of marijuana, at least just my opinion of it, the only reason why it took so long for it to happen is because we couldn't figure out a way to tax it. That's really all it comes down to. It was just like Prohibition. Like Prohibition, everything was straight. We let a group of people come in and try to tell us how we should live our lives. We basically made all the outlaws rich and whatnot. The government lost a shitload of money because they're seizing all this money from these outlaws, the mobsters, the gangsters, and so on and so forth, and realized, oh shit, we messed up. And by the time Prohibition was repealed, it didn't matter because everybody and their mother had basically had a stash of whatever they wanted. You know what I mean? Like it really didn't matter by the time they legalized it, legalized alcohol again. It was, if nothing else, it was semantics. It didn't mean anything.
It pretty much boiled down to just the government finally finding a way to make money off of it.
Exactly. And even with that, most people didn't even go dry. You know what I mean? Like,
no, nobody went dry. There are too many speakeasies around, too many people homebrewing beer, making moonshine. You know, it was everywhere.
And then you find out later that the government was actually poisoning some of the supplies that they were seizing and putting them back into circulation, in the hopes it would be a deterrent from people drinking, and that didn't help. But 10,000 people lost their lives, allegedly.
Yeah, that's why we started hearing about bathtub gin and stuff like that.
Exactly. So, you know.
Yeah. So, Prohibition pretty much mirrors what's going on right now with, marijuana, and it isn't a bad thing.
No, it's not. The only difference, if you're trying to regulate it, that's fine, but all they can really do is regulate the grade of what you're getting. Like, at the end of the day, if you want the really, really good stuff, you're going to pay top dollar and you're going to be taxed on it.
Yeah. Maybe.
You know what I'm saying? Other than that, that's it. Because you got now, like, for example, they got a guy in, I just saw a documentary on him not too long ago. They got a guy, I guess he's based out of Denver too, where he made all his money in Silicon Valley, obviously. And he wants to basically be the Jack Daniels, if you will, of marijuana. He wants it to not be something that you do recreationally. He wants it to be treated like a fine cigar or like a high-priced cognac or something along those lines. I respect that. Even though they have cognac dipped marijuana, but whatever. You know, maybe he don't know about that. Maybe he ain't up on that. He can call me. Anyway, my medical plan at the DIA covers it.
Yeah. I got the research team actually looking into that right now.
Excellent. Okay, just make sure. But he wants to turn it into a fine commodity where only the best is sold and everything else is kind of given. It's kind of pushed away, which drives the value down because the demand wouldn't be there for it. And he sees the need to do that because, one, if the higher strains are selling for the top price, then everything else will be more affordable. I get his logic behind that from a business standpoint. I get that 100%. Here's what I don't feel like he's taking into consideration. You still have the hybrid market out there. And once you start getting into different strains that have been crossbred and so on and so forth, now you're getting into a whole new level of an experience, for the lack of a better term. And now maybe they can't get, let me give you a crazy example. Maybe they can't get South African White Russian or whatnot, or they can't get, or White Rhino, sorry. Maybe you can't get that without paying a ridiculous amount for it. Fair enough. But maybe you can go ahead and get like a hybrid that was kind of bred down there on the Ivory Coast, and it might be just as good if it's not stronger, and it's cheaper. So now you have to kind of weigh that off. But then again, he's also trying to market it for a more high society type situation. Like, I don't know about you, but I'd say if I took a real quick look at my bar, I I'd say my most expensive bottle is maybe it may be like 120, maybe $130. That's it. Now, granted,
no, that's what it is here at the Gentleman's Club too. That's pretty top shelf stuff. I mean, I'm fine with spending a little bit more for the special bottle, but you know, it all comes with a price, and I think overall, much like the craft beer industry, marijuana is going to be more of a trend riding sort of industry where you're going to have to kind of see what is up and coming, what is good at the moment. You're going to have to kind of roller coaster your way through it.
And see, that's a hard thing to gauge because, like High Times magazine, right? There's other magazines too, but High Times magazine is a good starting point where you can read up on that. You have different types of, I don't want to call them breeders, but growers, if you will, who go to all types of parts of the world to go for these crazy strands. Like, I'll give you a really interesting story that I just heard recently from someone who came back from Mexico.
Did you watch that Vice documentary about trying to find a land race in Africa where they're like paying off tribal leaders with a bunch of money to go ahead and pick up land races?
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's like a 30-minute documentary, I think. I'll probably link it in the description below because it's just interesting to watch what people will go and, you know, what length people go to find, you know, some kind of substance like this.
Well, that's actually not too much of a surprise given that, I mean, the warlords are all basically just hired muscle out there anyway, let's be honest. As crude as that sounds, that's really all they have used since King Leopold and his butchery. Anyway, I'm sorry. As it pertains to, I need to actually watch that. I want to see that now because that might actually be a good watch. In Mexico, right? Back in the obviously predating us by a whole lot. Back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, even the 70s, they had all these different people who were, you know, how marijuana was just coming over the border because there was no border, but marijuana was just coming through rather extensively. Yeah, it was just abundant. You could go over there with your Volkswagen and pick up pounds of that shit and come back. Okay, well, what they end up finding out over there around on the outskirts of Tijuana, because back in the day they said that there was a lot of people out there, a lot of weed, a lot of different types of weed. People, when you're done with it, you would just flick it out your window or whatever. They found, I think they said maybe 500-600 yards, might even be bigger than that, of just weed that has been growing for years. And the locals have been, you know, taking a little bit, they do what they do with it, and so on and so forth. But Mexico has realized the medicinal properties of it. But it's free to anybody. But that's not the crazy part. The crazy part is they have a strand that is exclusive only to this part of Mexico. It's red, blue, green, and white. And the way it was described to me by someone who actually had a chance to partake in the shit is he said his first puff, he was done. He was done. And we're talking about someone who's like a veteran. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about, you know, a John Blaze type individual here. Like, you know what I'm saying? He knows what he's doing. His first puff, he was done. And he said it was a 2-day thing. For 2 straight days, he felt like this. He felt fucking amazing for 2 straight days. And it didn't stop. It wasn't, he didn't feel panicked. He didn't feel nervous. He didn't feel overly hungry. He didn't feel anything. He felt, I guess the way I can describe it is, he said a way of, it was like a 48-hour out-of-body experience. It was fucking amazing. Everything was amazing on this shit. Eating was amazing. He said every piece of food he had was the best piece he's ever had. Every drink he had, he said, was amazing. Every opportunity he had with his wife, oh boy. He said everything was amazing. Now here's the crazy part. When he came down from the 48 hours, he said the next week, it was just beautiful. It was just beautiful. It took a week for this shit to kind of make its way out of his system. I want that.
Karen, can we go ahead and block out a couple days in, you know, July to go down to Mexico, please?
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah, but aside from all of this, in Phil's shenanigans, he ended up back on to him. He ended up banning a couple of his mods, which I'm going to be talking about in my next episode of the Pig Roach Files. But
nice,
man, your birthday becomes just a detractor meme. How bad does that have to feel for that poor little degenerate?
Oh, no one's gonna lose any sleep over that. No one's gonna lose any sleep over that. He will literally.
The guy tipped Tevin $1 to try to get an interview. Poor little clout chaser.
I mean, it is what it is. Hey, you can tell though that this individual isn't as well up as most of those who came before him. Because usually, if you ended up defecting, if you're gonna debrief, is the way I look at it. If you're gonna debrief, usually go to Bill Purnell and Tex first, or Tevin, actually, to be honest with you. But usually, Bill Purnell or Tex usually gets those exclusives, I should say. But this is the same individual who blamed Tevin over some silly shit a couple of weeks ago, or a couple months ago.
Yeah, he claimed he got swatted, and there was no proof whatsoever.
Not at all. And yet, he's still at LSB's throat over that?
Yeah, he is, I think so. And it's just okay.
What did LSB have to do with that?
Absolutely nothing. LSB just, put him on blast on a podcast over at the Jackal's Lair, but, Saru should have known what he was getting into.
Well, I mean, that right there is just proof positive that not only is Phil watching the content, but his mods are too.
Yeah, it was really funny because, tinfoil hat Theo theory time. Mm-hmm. It's thought of now that one of LSB's chatters went ahead and said that Phil, during the pre-stream, during that dead air time for that 30 minutes where songs are going, he's actually watching a detractor stream.
Oh, I've said that. I've said that he's usually watching. Yeah, he's watching Tevin. Or I think as of late though, he's probably been watching LSB too, because it's interesting how.
He's definitely watching both of them. That's for sure. He'll watch Tevin if Tevin's up. He'll watch LSB if Tevin isn't on.
Exactly. That's what I was leading up to. Of course he is, because he's watching the type of money that's coming in, and he's watching how the stream's being conducted. All he's doing is, in my personal opinion, is he's trying to figure out who was in that chat or who's in their chats, right? See if he can recognize names and see what is it that's allowing LSB and Tevin and Dark Dave to hold their attention and try to see if he can draw it back. And speaking of which, what is that thing that everybody's using now? The caption with the frog Muppet or the what is that? Tevin had the kind of creepy clown situation going there. Mr. Huffstuff's had the Frog King, and then Dark Dave has had this for a while, where he'll have like a different type of Muppet up there that reflects Phil's movement. I like that. That might be just like the new standard.
You're talking about the little like robo face cam kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. So it tracks like facial movements over there on OSB, and so anybody could do it. Heck, I could become like, robo agent proper if I wanted to, or something weird like that. So it's just tracking Phil's movement, which isn't much because he just sits in. It's either lean forward, stare at the screen because I'm not wearing my glasses, full on sausage pose, the classic T pose, and then the good old lean in manual band.
Absolutely.
It's entertaining though to see like the things I kind of like try to figure out what Phil is doing, because he's just an amorphous blob at this point.
It's really because he has nothing else, to be honest. Like, you got to understand, like, we'll have to make this a completely separate show, because I like to get you, I like to get Declan Reed, I like to get James the Lesser, LSB if he's available. I want to get a couple people on because I'd like to talk a little bit about the current state of the detractor community, if you will, and how it's so much different from how it, how it started, I guess, and some of the leaps and bounds that are being taken. And then I want to kind of get into why did it take so long to get here? Like, why isn't it that this free flowing didn't happen a little sooner? And so on and so forth. But like I said, I'm sorry, that's getting off the subject, but
yeah, it was an interesting time. That's for sure. Because your early detractors of like Tevin, Vault Boy, some of those guys, they were putting out interesting content that kind of trimmed the fat on Phil, so you didn't have to sit there and wade through, a 4-hour bore fest.
Exactly.
And then you had people who started just deep diving, go A-log on him, like SOK.
Right.
Which I'm still working on the history of, the new series. But yeah, it's I might have to split it up, to be honest.
Have you considered, by the way, if you can get a hold of talking to Secret Life a little bit? Because he has he's got a lot of history that I'd find that would be useful to you.
Oh, okay. I'll get on that. Secret's a pretty cool guy. Him and I have talked a little bit here or there.
He's a pretty nice guy, and like you can reach out to him through like a DM or something, and he can help. I feel like he can help fill in some of the blanks because, especially with the behind the scenes stuff that was going on, that translated to what ended up coming later, that might help fill some slots.
Yeah, there's a little bit in there that I'm kind of confused on, just the timing of it, but. That was like a year and a half, 2 years of just Phil getting nuked almost every day. And then all of a sudden it hit the fan.
To be honest with you, he got lucky.
Yeah, lucky. Phil got really lucky that the SOK imploded, or else he would have been in a very rough spot.
Very. You know what I mean? Which is interesting because we're in a time now where you have more people who are willing to speak their opinion on Phil. And I feel like they can be a little bit more free-flowing now. Whereas if SOK was still around, they might have been pointed into more of a they might have been pointed into a certain direction that they weren't meaning to go. But would certainly have benefited, would have been at Phil's disadvantage either which way. Whereas now, what's Phil really going to do? You know what I'm saying? He generally knows all of us by name. He can meme it if he wants that he doesn't when money's attached to it. But at the end of the day, he knows all of us. You know what I'm saying? If you track, I've got a guy actually, funny enough, who watches detractor content the moment it's posted, which is crazy. But the moment it's posted, and he says that it's usually within the first 2 minutes is when the first dislike comes up. If you track day by day who posts and what time they post compared to what Phil is doing at that time, it makes sense who's probably behind it.
Yeah, so, it's interesting. I've had a few dislikes on a couple of my videos, and those are like the videos I really kind of go in on the pig roach, and then all of a sudden dislikes show up.
And it's weird. It's really, really weird that they would be that devoted. So now,
it's fine by me because I'm a believer in free speech. Tell me whatever you want. I don't care. I'm not going to bat an eye or stop what I'm doing because I enjoy this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But what I find that's interesting is I thought we're supposed to be all of the brain dead idiots who don't have lives and shit. Yet he wages literally a 24-hour campaign in just hating videos.
Yeah, there's literally been 24-hour gay ops on trying to flag and deplatform people like Snort Brunel before. And I'm sure they still try to happen to this day, but he doesn't have a presence on YouTube anymore. It's a dead archive channel.
And he did it all to himself.
Yep, he pretty much castrated his own channel.
So crazy. That's so crazy.
All because KO Gaming couldn't make money on it anymore because his AdSense got suspended.
I mean, he didn't put enough time and effort into that anyway. Like,
there wasn't any effort. He tried to get "This Is How You Don't" plays from his fanboys, and they were garbage tier. Nobody watched them.
I'm glad you. Yeah, no one watched them, but I'm glad you brought that up because I want to do a short documentary, or not a documentary, but I want to do a short broadcast on that. And sadly, we can only go over what's available unless he's removed those from his channel.
Nope.
Oh, they're still there?
Oh, I guarantee you they're still there.
Oh, I want to go over it because what were you doing? Like, you were already like 3 or 4 years too late at that point. You can't. Phil tried to explain it as, oh, it's something that makes light of what I do, but that's not funny though. You're missing the point. It's almost like, oh, you guys are shaming my gameplay, so I'm gonna have someone basically try to make it seem more funny instead of slamming me, and it's the exact same thing. No, it's not. It's not at all. Like and more importantly, when the big money was out there for it, you could have worked something out with Evil AJ or with Outsider or The Outsider or with any of those individuals, and you guys could have profited together. Maybe it would have been better than what he ended up doing. It was too late. Like you're trying to beat. It's not a dead horse, but having someone do "This Is How You Don't" plays from your own fan base is stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I just checked. He still has a 8-video playlist of "This Is How You Don't" plays from his community submissions.
That's so good.
I mean, what is the point of this? It was the same thing as his retrospective event the other day. People were telling him, you want to know how he can make real money? If he went ahead and started watching detractor content once a month.
Absolutely.
He would make a goddamn killing on it. His fans would pay for it. Troll tips would come rolling in hard, and he would have to run back every single thing that we have caught over his 10 years.
He won't do it though. Sadly, yeah. His ego's
sadly, he won't get his chain back.
Nope. His ego too damn big. And keep in mind though too,
right? How can that happen?
Well, you got to think about it. Then he has detractor content actually on his channel. I mean, if you think about it, like think about how far he went to prevent detractors just from showing up in his relateds. This dude nuked his related channel for like a year, which completely screwed him in the algorithm. Completely fucked him in the algorithm. Sorry, screwed him in the algorithm, and only went back to it because he had no choice. It was either that or the comment section, because he doesn't get enough engagements on his videos. But he's too scared of the comment section.
Oh, no, he won't touch a comment section.
But he might as well. It's just an archive channel. Who cares?
Right?
But then we saw how pitiful he was when he had the rollback over to KO Gaming, which was supposedly blacklisted, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. He ends up rolling over to KO Gaming after Spamgate, and they always had comments available. All of a sudden, comments get nuked.
I just watched that video recently, too, when he was talking about nuking every comment. He just said he was tired of the negativity and that he wants to be positive more.
Well, because he's watching all of his videos to make sure the ads show up, bruh.
Yeah, he needs those. He needs those, 2 ads coming up on every video. My friend passed away. Buy a Jeep Wrangler today.
Exactly.
I mean,
I'm gonna go after Phil's neck on that one too.
That one was rough. Watching that. And
yeah.
There are a few other ones too out there. But speaking of speaking your mind and free speech, have you kept up with this whole Vox Union thing and that whole kind of new rollout of terms of conditions of YouTube? Because I want to hear your take before I dive into this, because it's been weighing on me for about a week now.
Oh, sure. So I've heard it from 2 different perspectives, plus what I've read. So first perspective was, thank you for that, by the way, the Metokur stream that went over it. And
that was a great stream. I had to go and find the restream over there. It was like Toxic Boy clips or something along those lines. I'll find the link.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's pretty good about it. Because the original channel that used to restream Metokur stuff got taken down for some type of community guideline thing. I don't know what that was about, but hopefully they get their channel back because they were anyway, the quality was super good. But
same as Stream Clips went down too.
Stream Clips is down too?
Yeah.
Oh shit, damn.
Sucks, right?
Yeah, I love Stream Clips, man. They're great. Shit, man, that's so damn petty. I heard. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's silly that YouTube will nuke a channel like that. All they're doing is archiving stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But yet again, if you can't profit, do you really need them around? Theoretically,
right?
And I think, and most people archive Metokur stuff. They usually put ads on them. Not everybody does, but because I have Metokur videos archived, especially because he talked about DSP. I don't have it monetized, but most people do. It is what it is. Metokur doesn't care. It's whatever.
Right.
And YouTube's going to get their piece regardless.
Right. And he's fine with people restreaming him. He knows it's going on, and he knows that people want to archive it for later use. I mean, heck, I got to go back and find his 2 podcasts with SOK. And that's just a bloodbath.
I think I can actually tell you exactly where those are.
Yeah, I remember where they're at.
Yeah,
I think I do.
I'm tempted to go back into that. But yeah. So I heard Metokur's basically his take on it, which makes it even more scary,
right?
Or Orwellian in history, if you will, because he's going to be right.
Oh yeah, he is. He's dead right.
Yeah, he's going to be dead right. And then I saw the memology cut on it, where basically these Fox reporters are not getting the pay that they're supposed to. This is in the beginning anyway. They weren't getting the money that they wanted to, so this individual took the opportunity to strike during Gay Pride Month against this guy who's been kind of going at him a while, just bantering with him, if you will. I heard that part of it, and then I heard the Nick Rekieta stream where he was talking to Sinatra about it. Have you seen that yet?
Not the Nick Arcada stream. I haven't seen that one yet, but yeah, I followed the memology thread on Twitter for some of that information, and then I heard the Steven Clowder whole rant that he went on about this individual. I really don't feel like giving him his own name, because at this point, if you even say his name, it's a hate speech, which is just ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. But I'm sorry, but pertains to my thoughts. This right here is the remnants, if you will, of Zoe Quinn and fucking Anita all over again. It's just more direct now. Instead of people wanting their own personal hug box and people can say what they want, but not have to hear any reprisals, not have to receive any. Now you found these different companies that have figured out a way to weaponize it against YouTubers. And from a media standpoint, someone like Fox, right, where cable is dying out.
Well, the thing is that, so Fox is the industry we're talking about, and they do a lot of freelance internet writing. Majority of the sports teams, like a lot of the hockey writers, for example, Fear the Fin, they walked out because of the union strike. And to me, that's fine, because everybody deserves to get a competitive wage and be able to make a living. However, they went ahead and went a weird roundabout way to cripple YouTube as a whole, because that's where Fox makes a majority of their money on, is through YouTube ad revenue.
Right.
So they went on to go cripple YouTube because it would hurt Vox and their wallets. But they didn't realize that there is going to be this kind of, cannon fodder in the way, if you will. Innocent bystanders are being hurt. Videos are being taken down by YouTube because of hate speech when it's actually a history lesson.
Oh no, I think I think we're giving them too much credit. This group that's doing this, I should say. I think it's giving them way too much credit to take Fox, to take a real strong hit at Fox and hurt them where it needs to, the money, and to be able to target YouTubers who are getting way more clicks, who are bringing in way more money as individuals. If, hey man, you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs, so you need collateral damage, because you need a backlash on this end to help bring more awareness to the overall situation. Yeah, it sucks that all these channels got demonetized and third, but in the head of this individual and the ones who's following him, oh, hey, that's going to bring more attention onto ourselves, so we're going to go ahead and do it. Now, don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen, I don't condone that. I'm saying is I'm trying to rationalize, not that I'm doing a very good job of it, but I'm trying to rationalize how he's trying to do this and what his thought processes is. And he doesn't care about, like you said, he doesn't care about the fact that there are innocent people who have nothing to do with his crusade or about the union or basically their money. They have nothing to do with that. They put out their own content, they're doing their own thing, and they're not, at least as far as we know, hurting anybody. But yet this guy's like, oh, we got to take you. Just like in the apocalypse that came before it with that one dude exposing the supposedly exposing those pedophile channels or whatnot. Now, granted, we was doing that all for personal glory, but look at how fast that faded out.
I mean, those kind of channels existed for a while, and the issue was that YouTube wasn't doing anything about it, and they knew about those channels. So,
but that's why you
happened.
Well, but that's why you go. But and that's why with this whole with the new situation with Fox, that's why you go after these bigger channels, these longer standing channels, for at least most of them, because that's where the impact's going to be at. The impact is going to be from their fan bases. So now, whether they're mad or not, news is news. If it bleeds, it leads. So if I've taken down, let's say I work for Fox, if I take down your favorite channel, now you're pissed off. Now you're more than likely to click on my articles to leave your little comment about how mad you are at what I'm doing. You're more than likely to pop up on my podcast and leave your little comment in my chat about how irate you are about the situation, how unfair I am, or so on and so forth. Attention is attention no matter what. Only if you can direct it and monetize it. And that's what this individual's doing.
Now, the interesting thing is that aside from all of this, there are people probably like you and I, Mr. Metokur, and others who say, hold on, time out. This isn't about the Vox Union. This isn't about this man's crusade against hate speech. It's about people like us and our right to go ahead and get paid for our thoughts. So if we're going to entertain somebody, say you guys listening to this podcast, and you are enjoying our videos and our content, you have the right to go ahead and give us, money or show your support in some fashion. And at this point, they're going to start protecting more and more groups against so-called hate speech. But how far is too far? Are people like Phil going to be protected against people like us, your general run-the-mill typical asshole?
I think it already has. Twitch is a perfect example of that.
People get banned for having an emote of his life that showed up on video, like Bill Burnell. Tevin's channel got nuked because, he was restreaming him,
but hadn't been restreaming him for like 4 or 5 months at that point. Yeah,
he would just make his own gameplay videos for a while there. He was like, I'm just doing all the streaming on YouTube.
But see, the thing is with Tevin's a special case when it comes to his situation on Twitch, because one, Tevin's quality was going up. It was going up. Two, the attention that his stream was getting was going up. People are coming over there. They're making their little jokes about Phil and whatnot, but they're there for Tevin. They're there for his personality, and they're there for the gameplay. And Phil immediately looked at that as a threat. It's not the fact that Tevin used to rebroadcast. Well, it is. to some degree, it's Phil, it's Tevin rebroadcasting his streams in the past. But what Phil was scared of is having his top detractor possibly beating him out in air quotes, ladies and gentlemen, in his time slot on his platform. That's what scared Phil. Phil was scared that if Tevin streams at the same time he does, that all the attention will go over there to Tevin and not him. Or Tevin will be able to pull that away. Because one, Tevin's funny and he's competent. So we're talking about an individual who's funny, who has personality, who has depth, and who can actually play a game and learn as he plays. Instead of this idiot over here who's literally going to hit his head against the over and over and over again and wonder why he's slowly but surely forgetting what he did yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, which is Phil's overall problem.
I mean, watching him do Layers of Fear 2 and then having to stop gameplay because he can't figure it out and being like, oh no, this is the end, guys, I guess for now. And then he actually sat there and looked up a guide or two.
But I've said that though. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I've said that Phil cannot do anything on his own.
No, he can't. I mean, there was the Twitch chat outage the other day when he was playing Final Fantasy IX. He was like, oh, I haven't done a recording like this in a while. You know, I won't be looking at the chat because chat's down. And you can still catch him staring over at chat to try to see if it's back up, to see if he can't get any help. And he's giving people shout-outs for tips because that's the only thing he can read. I mean, it was embarrassing.
But it also shows how cut off he is as an individual. Like, you know what I mean? To take a Sargon quote. As an individual, he's nothing. And I know that sounds brutal, ladies and gentlemen, but he really isn't. He cannot, unless there's somebody there to help him, to praise him, or to reward him, he's a nobody. And I'm saying this not me directly calling him a nobody, though I have calling him a nobody, but that is how he conducts himself. There has to be some type of positive reinforcement to him daily. If not, he can't function. He can't. And that's the reason why he's on Twitter on his days off. He needs to hear what's being said about him, positive or negative. So one, he has something to talk about the next day and maybe even the week to come. But also, he needs to know that people are thinking about him even when he's not around. It's a type of ego trip that you can't really explain.
Yeah, he tends to really kind of show up on Twitter or like during his whole entire Connecticut vacation. He couldn't stay away from trying to see what trolls were saying. It's like, guy, you just got married. Turn the goddamn phone off and enjoy something for a change. And he just can't. There's no off switch right now, and it's everything is all about hardcore begging for money. And I bet, you know, being it's the start of summer, we are going to come into an interesting arc here soon.
Which I'm glad you brought that up, as it pertains to, it's your, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to think about this. This is your wedding night, okay? You're supposed to be, you're supposed to be in there making the marriage official. You know what I'm saying? You're putting your stamp on the deed, if you will. That's what you're supposed to be doing. But you're on Instagram and you're on Twitter seeing what people have to say about your situation. And then, after the Pro Jared situation, because I just went over that debacle.
Yeah, I just watched that video of yours.
Oh, yeah. He was like, oh, he said he was disappointed that none of the other big content creators reached out to him and wished him well wishes, or gave him well wishes for his marriage. These people aren't your friends.
Exactly.
These people aren't even associates. So what were they supposed to say to you? You know what I mean?
I mean, who cares? Nobody cares. It's like, oh, cool, Dark Side Phil got married. I mean, even us detractors are like, see, we called it. This wasn't too difficult to realize what was happening. Something was up.
Exactly. And that's why if like I said, if it turns out to be there's a baby in this situation, none of us are going to be surprised. If anything else, I'm going to be fearful for that child.
Oh yeah, that's going to be rough. You know, can you imagine in the future? You know, we're talking like, I don't know, 2032, and this kid is being shown on this cool wrist camera or platform. Hey, look at little Phil Jr.'s like dad. Here he is jerking off on stream. Ha 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 ha. What a loser.
Dude, he doesn't want a junior GTG.
Right?
Picking up his father's mantle and being like, no, he doesn't want that. But you know someone's going to do it. It doesn't even have to be my children or your children or James the Lesser's or anybody else's. It could be anybody. And you got to live with that. But more importantly, before we even get to the public ridicule, how does Phil Burnell, how does the man, the myth, the legend, how does he deal with that? How do you come to terms with the fact that there is a little person here who depends on you 24/7 and you are not the center of the universe anymore? How does he come with that? And I feel like that culture shock could break him.
Oh yeah, there'd be two scenarios there. Either he is like just distant and just sits in his little, you know, snort fort in the Gout Palace and just plays his games and be like, oh, I'm so tired. Oh, the baby kept me up all night, guys. And I need money for diapers now. And then the power bill could go out, so I can't heat up formula for it. I really need some help, guys. Oh, Hank, he tipped me $100. Oh, thank you so much, Hank. If I could get down on my hands and knees and still be on camera, I would give you a blowjob.
Oh, that's so good. He'd lose his mind.
It's that, or he'd actually have to be forced to become a reasonable adult and just be like, hey, I've got to go get a job now, and I will do some night streams whenever I can. Hope you guys come over to just play some games with us, some chill streams, or just talk. That's the route it's going, is he's going to just show up, you know, twice a week and talk. And be like, oh yeah, I played a stream, like maybe stream a game once or twice a week.
And see, that would be perfect. Because now it would show the fan base he's putting effort into the situation. This is real now. This isn't bullshit. This isn't smoke and mirrors. This isn't alleged detractor, you know, detractor logic that ends up becoming true. It's this man has to, for once, be a man and do what needs to be done. And less for Phil, anyway. Less is more. The less time that people have access to him, the better it would be for him in the long run. But there's a caveat to that, because the better it's going to be for detractors too. Because now, for example, like I have this second channel I've been talking about, and I'm going backwards. I'm going back and I'm trying to relearn lore that I wasn't around for. So that's literally what I'm doing from scratch. So now, for the detractor community, if Phil isn't there every day as he usually is, let's say he's only there twice a week. Now you have to take that and split that up over the span of, you know, maybe instead of Snorpernell posting 5 days, Snorpernell might only post 3 days. Now you have to kind of break all that down. But what it does is it opens up another opportunity for the detractors community for the detractor community to go back and look at and start really picking at some of the discrepancy. If there's a channel out there might be even a few, that have at least some of those pre-streams that were erased. Somebody has them. It's on a channel that no one remembers and whatnot, or it's somebody else's backup channel that they haven't used in 5 or 6 years. It's there. It's out there. I know it is. And people can start going ahead and looking for that, which all that's going to do is drive Phil up in the algorithm anyway. It'll pay off if he's willing to do so. But for YouTube, since it's still making him money, he has to suck up his pride and take the comments off. Yeah, or bring the comments back on, I'm sorry. He has to. If he really wants YouTube to be something, he has to do it. You being scared of what people have to say about you shouldn't mean a goddamn thing if the money it brings in helps support this little person that's over here, who's dependent on you no matter what, who loves you no matter what. and does not give a shit what Uncle GTG has to say. At the end of the day, they only care about the ugly-looking pig that's in front of them. And despite what kind of pig you are, they only love and care about you. And that's what the biggest part of this whole situation. If Kat's pregnant, he has to grow up. He has to man up, and I don't know if he has that in him.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's very doubtful that he will grow up. I mean, I'm sure his dad's absolutely just ashamed of what has become of his kid. He gave him every opportunity that he could, and Phil pretty much squandered it. Made a killing somehow on early YouTube, and is now just begging for money 10 years later from disabled people like Idella. Hopefully his mom is doing well. Hopefully
She's
those cookies are
great. Good. She's doing great.
You know, and it's a sad shell of a human that you're watching whenever you watch a DSP stream.
Which leads into where we're at right now, ladies and gentlemen. We're off subject slightly, but we're gonna get ready to go back. Is the fact that he's as desperate as he's probably ever been. That tweet he did a couple days ago, that was insane. And not the D-Day one. That was just stupid.
Dumbass.
That was about.
No. Happy 9/11.
Yeah, that was super disrespectful. I don't know what he was thinking, but that begging tweet, that by far immediately wipes out any tweet that he's had before that, begging for money. That was as desperate as I've ever seen him at least on at least on Twitter.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, and if it doesn't improve, which somehow it did for now, but it will trend back downwards because that's all he is doing right now is trending down. And you're about to see him actually probably either put out another emergency video again, or, you know, another twit longer about something, or he's going to have to finally reveal this whole behind the scenes issue. And none of it's good for him because, you know, people like us have been cataloging his every slip up for the past 3 years and working together doing it.
Exactly. In a way that he's not familiar with. Because you got to think about it too. Back when the generation before us, everybody was kind of splintered off except for this one group. And even then, everybody who was individuals, like Tevin, for example, he was an associate. He wasn't a full patch member, but he was an associate. But for the most part, everybody was kind of on their own, or you're affiliated with this group. Now it's like a king who's going up against a bunch of other kings. And so think about each one of us having our own kingdom. And now he has to contend with all of us. And instead of any of us kind of trying to go off on the hook and get personal glory, we're all willing to bring our armies together for this one common cause, taking the ego out, taking the arrogance out, which in turn takes out all the dissent. And he's not used to that. He needs at least something there to cause problems, like he has in his own community. He likes seeing drama amongst the paid piggies because it keeps things interesting. In the detractor community, he doesn't have that. You have a cohesionness that can't be disrupted, and he doesn't understand it. He doesn't understand how all these people who don't really know each other can operate on 2, if not 3 different platforms, and can make it work without turning on each other. And even with the minor skirmishments that we've had, it's not enough to break up the overall goal, which is to laugh at.
That stuff just gets kind of pointed out, mostly because it seems as if we are all friends at this point, and that, you know, if my good buddy says, hey dude, you're fucking up, stop fucking up, fix it this way, and tries to better me, you know, that's not a problem. It should be, you know, you taking the time and saying, whoa, why is my good friend and, you know, counterpart in peer telling me that to not do something.
Exactly. And that was the opportunity that was given to him with John and Howard and he didn't know how to react to it. So he's sitting there saying that, oh, they didn't tell me what I was doing wrong.
They shouldn't have to.
Exactly. Half of that should have been at least reading the... You know what I mean? You should have been able to read the room a little bit and figure out what's going on. And he didn't want to. He was oblivious to it because he was making all this money. He has these 100,000 plus people on YouTube who love him, right? And will follow him to the ends of Galtopia. And what did he have to lose? And you guys are my friends regardless because I pig-shamed you into doing so. So you guys aren't going to go anywhere anyway. The only difference was Howard. Howard wasn't completely under, and John was only doing it because he kind of felt bad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, John, for all due credit to John, he wanted to believe that Phil was a good person.
Oh yeah, he was his only like true and honest friend. And John wanted DSP to not be a pile of crap and thought he could do better and change, and he just never did. So when DSP finally left to Seattle, John just cut the cord because he was sick and tired of trying to pick his friend back up.
And that was the best thing he could do, to be honest. And that's why, with the Drunken Peasants, right? Because I've been meaning to do that and whatnot. The reason why I'm not going to completely go hard in the paint on them, but they're going to catch some of this, is because of their good-naturedness and wanting to show and wanting to prove that Phil was a decent person. Phil would have taken them down with him if he had the opportunity. He would have easily have dragged them down too, and they should be lucky that didn't happen. But Phil certainly could have if he could have let me put it to you this way, ladies and gentlemen. If Phil could have had control of that chat, which is what he wanted his mods to be in control of the Drunken Peasants chat. If they would have given that little bit to him, it'd have been over. It'd have been over.
Oh, yeah,
Phil would have eaten off them from here on out.
Yeah, that chat would have been turned into his own little Nazi chat. And all it would have been was an echo chamber. When people, you know, in the detractor community probably would have wanted to get through and actually ask him some difficult stuff and put him on the spot. And we all know that once he gets put on the spot, for example, the other night getting called out for flubbing the anonymous tip, he gets very flustered and he just can't cope.
Exactly. And why is he paying attention to the chat anyway? Because he can't help it. He's so just like with Kat, to be honest. She's so conditioned to see what's in that chat, which she allegedly already knows what's there. But she's so conditioned to it that now she doesn't see anything but the chat. And that's scary because when you go back and look at some of Kat's earlier stuff, she looked like a person. She acted like a person. She had personality. She had something or some things that was vibrant about her, right? Whether you're hiding it for the camera or not, there was something there. And Phil just immediately drained that out of her.
I mean, that's that pignosis in action right there. I mean, he will suck anybody dry for whatever they're worth, and then as soon as he doesn't have any value from you coming in, you're gone. Goodbye. You're done. Saru, you're done. BSV, see you later, Swaggins. Get out of here, you little shit. And it happens over and over again. You know, Rambo, John, Deuces. He doesn't care. All he cares about is himself. I mean, look at Leanna left him. He put up a lie because his ego couldn't take the hit. And then he's like, oh, I met this beautiful girl and tried to pour out this. And the only time he ever did that was because, well, guess what? He got called out for having somebody else behind the scenes, an escort. And when Metokur pointed out that it was, nope, guess what? That was false. Phil already slipped up.
Exactly. If Phil could have waited another month, he'd have been in the clear. He could have been in the clear. And here's the funny part. Obviously, I don't know because I've never spoken to Metokur, but I think if I was to assume, Metokur was banking on that. Metokur's looking at because Metokur's not stupid. He's someone who takes a lot of time in what he does. So he's looking at the landscape and he's like, okay, I'm gonna dispel this whole escort thing. But then he's looking at it and being like, there is a girlfriend in the mix though. Like Metokur's already catching the vibes of it, and he's like, okay, I've got a winning hand here.
It was very interesting because Metokur actually ended up taking Phil down a peg, but he also took Kiwi Farms as a whole down a little bit. He said, hey, your exceptional detectives over there actually don't do their homework all the time. So don't believe everything that's out there. And it worked out for him in the end when people said, oh, allegedly had his docs. And Metokur's like, haha, yeah, that's right. I'm married to Jade, and I'm a, potato-eating Irishman from Minnesota.
Yeah, he actually did spin that. He didn't have to spin it. He just went along with it. Because if it really is him, who cares? And if it's not him, they're just giving him another level of anonymity. So who cares? The only person that I can think of who publicly came out and was doubtful was Sargon. But Sargon never let that rip. So it is what it was. I mean, for good reason, probably. So, the Metokur thing worked out. Yeah, Metokur had all the angles covered. He had all the angles, and he had his entertainment. He had his entertainment for a month. He was able to clear it up with Phil, basically tell the guys on Kiwi Farms, hey, you might want to tighten up a little bit, and then still gave a nod to Kiwi Farms because of the crazy ass story they ended up finding out later. You know what I'm saying? But then at the end of the video, you find out that if you guys looked at this image mackerel and such and such and such and such, it would have taken you there anyway. That's insane. That's insane to be able to paint the picture like that. Which is one of Metokur's greatest qualities. Is as a storyteller, he keeps you gripped in a way that I don't think anybody that we know can, to be honest with you.
I mean, I watched his video on his Hampshire guy because I was listening to some of his streams, and he came across some dude who's building an underwater habitat in a local pond for his hamsters to live in. And Metokur, as always, this is interesting to me. I'm going to talk about it. And it's just captivating because it's just some dude who finds something funny on the internet to talk about.
At the same time, though, Hamster Dude has been working on that shit for almost a decade. Like, I respect that.
Right? Homie's put in work.
Yeah, he is. I want to see that when he has that all done. And, like, I can't remember what he's using to power it all. But, I would have thought initially, like, oh, shit, are we using a car battery or something for all that? And he's like, no, I'm just using this little battery right here. And I did some tests with a couple of different brands, and I find out this one right here has the best charge out of all of them. So it's energy efficient when it's plugged in. But if I lose power, it has like an 8-hour backup. I was like, I wouldn't have even thought about the backup. Holy shit. Holy shit.
Right? I mean, he was on it. He's like the Tech 9 of hamster habitats underwater right now.
And see, what we need to do is, if this hamster thing works, this is the crazy part. If this hamster thing works, there's somebody in a government position somewhere who's like, oh shit, if that really does work in the long term, yeah, we need to talk to him because we need to do some real shit on, for us, for humanity's sake. You know what I mean? We can.
Oh yeah.
Why not?
I mean, heck, it's kind of the same route of like some Elon Musk kind of stuff. Now we're going back to the moon and such.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, the Tesla cars aren't working out very. I don't know what the deal is on that. That's quite a loss he's going to have on that one. But
it'll bounce back. I'm sure of it once he releases other more affordable models.
Right. Yeah. So I agree. But what were your initial thoughts of this whole situation, though?
I mean, there's a lot to uncover and dig through and sift through, and somebody like me, I put in the hard work to go and do my deep dives, and I like showing it off too, because I really enjoyed doing a live investigation about his whole thing last time with helicopter support and stuff like that. And it's something I pride myself on, is trying to get information and physical evidence to show people, because there's a need for it.
Well, absolutely. But one of the reason why for that, I think, is because Phil provides you. He doesn't provide us with anything.
No, I think I'm going to have to archive a lot more stuff going on, and I think that's the route to go right now, because he seems to try to retcon damn near anything thrown his way right now. So I don't know how much longer YouTube's going to be around. He might just start deleting videos that say, some form of inflammatory subject matter, or him talking racially, because he's going to try to cover it up just in case of this whole, YouTube change in terms of service. He doesn't want to lose out on that chunk of money, or at least that's the way he's going to spin it, when in reality he is just going to try to bury it and retcon it for all these new fans he seems to have.
Or if he actually has to have a background check for a job. Because I'm already sharing the opinion with somebody on Kiwi Farms that there are videos already coming up missing, which is the reason why I did
do some digging around, and there are country blocks on certain videos, so you might have to get a roundabout way to look at those.
Yeah, because the stuff that's coming up missing a little bit, and like I said, block, or he's just privating them or whatever, it's very obvious that he realizes now, I think more than ever, that the overall detractor group isn't just looking at his present, but they're comparing it to his past. Now, who he's watching, I couldn't tell you, but it's very obvious. Like the Back in Time streams definitely get under his skin, and for good reason. But also Mr. Huff Stuff, Snorpernell, and Mighty D, when they do those comparison videos, David Davison too, who do those comparison videos of what you said yesterday and then what you said a year ago, what you said 2 years ago. That right there irks him. That irks him a lot, because if anything else, ladies and gentlemen, the only thing Phil has the backup to fall back on, I should say, is the fact that he has an overwhelming amount of material that nobody would want to sift through to find something. So the only way you would have it is a bunch of us talking and someone remembering something from a particular time period, and then we just kind of sift through until we find it. B, someone already has it saved on a hard drive, whatever the video was or the pre-stream, and they're like, hey, I have it. It's right here. If you can't find it, I'll literally re-upload it on this channel. Or C, you have someone like Tevin who has almost perfect, almost total recall when it comes to those circumstances, and is willing to go back and look just to show you where it might be at. Those things right there beat him all day.
I mean, I just looked up recently, in 2013, he did Ask the King part, what was it? Let me see here. 36, September 5th is when it's dated, and part 2 is about taxes, donations, and his back injury. So it's a 33-minute part of him talking about how he did tax write-offs for his business and what he could write off for taxes, as well as the lore behind his back injury, which apparently in this video is from, he figured it out from a sport, like playing touch football with friends in the park.
Okay, that's interesting because I just went over a video in like 2010 or was in 2011 where he said he didn't actually know. Actually, I know exactly where that video's at. It's it was a video that he had done for is either when he got laid off or when he lost Dark Side Phil, the channel Dark Side Phil, ladies and gentlemen, when he lost that channel, and he had just ended up getting it back, and he was talking about what his circumstance was. It might have actually been when he was laid off. Actually, I'm almost confident of that. And if so, ladies and gentlemen, that is from 2000. Actually, I have it right here.
2010.
Thank you, from 2010. And I just did that video. He talked about he had a back injury, but he didn't know where it came from. So you're telling me in 2013 he did an Axe the King, and now all of a sudden he was able to narrow it down?
Well, yeah, as far as the story goes, and I've pieced together, apparently he had some kind of car crash, and it seems to have been this horrific event, according to him, where he got burns on his face from the airbag and all sorts of stuff like that.
I heard about that.
It was a fender bender. Let's get over it. It was a fender bender. You probably weren't paying attention and just crashed the car. You know, and yes, back injuries happen from this, but then apparently he was playing touch football, according to this video, in 2013 with some friends, and all of a sudden his back started to hurt and like he was getting numbness in his legs. So he ended up going to a doctor because he was probably still on mommy and daddy's insurance, and found out that he had herniated discs in his back. And he probably doesn't do any physical therapy for it or anything to help his situation out. So all he does is play the victim, uses the little tiny little back support pillow on that love-stained love seat of his, and the little shower stool that he has to sit on for his showers. Oh, and the hand truck for his groceries, too. Don't forget about that.
Yeah. No, let's not forget about that. Yeah, I need to go over that video. Would you mind sending me a link to that later on Twitter?
Oh yeah, I'll totally send you that link.
Oh my god!
Because it's interesting also because that middle segment in there, he talks about not accepting donations at all.
What? Wait a second. But in 2010, he talked about he was accepting donate. Oh,
yeah,
Phil.
Yeah. So he goes and tells his whole story about how YouTube is doing so well for him, and it's everything that he could have imagined. It's the dream job because he's making so much money, and that he didn't need to be like other streamers and beg for other people's money and tell them to, subscribe to the hate army. It's that whole kind of rant that he kind of goes on there. And it is so hypocritical now. I mean, as you and I have talked before, you can't say you're never going to do something because that opportunity might be there. You have to keep those doors open. Yeah, but he goes on this whole rant about how it's this, he's better than everybody else and trying to flex that ego. And look at, 6 years later? He's telling us that he has 5 overdraft fees a month while he's pulling in $100,000 a year.
That's so insane. Because because of the older videos, I'm taking note. In his 30K subs video in Modern Warfare 2, ladies and gentlemen, this is on the actual. This might actually be on the actual DSP gaming channel. I don't think so. It might be on Dark Side Phil. And channel update, he actually talks about he appreciates all the donations that are given to him because he uses that money to get games, and he's buying a lot of games, and he has a lot going on, and those donations, especially the big ones, with people even back then asking not to be named, right? He said those things were extremely helpful for help covering games and stuff like that. So you were, and that video was from. That video was from November 8th of 2009. So this dude has the nerve to say 4 years later in 2013 that he didn't accept donation and he never made a bit of money. Oh boy, I can't wait to get back to my office at the DIA because I have all kinds of goodies to go ahead and send to Chief Proper, because he's, like I said, his past is a gold mine. Everything he says now, it can be traced back. I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, it can be traced back. He's a creature of habit, and it shows patterns in his behavior. It's all there. I promise you, it's all there.
Oh, how about this juicy video? Ask the King, episode 60 from July 7th, 2016. It's the second part. It covers my back, health, insurance, and Comcast. So I'm sure that I might have to be giving that a watch once we wrap up this lovely conversation, because I'm sure there's not some juicy bits in there from, the King of Hate vlogs.
Oh yeah. Yes, please send me that one too. I need that. I need that. Jesus Christ, Phil. And that's Phil's overall problem. You've made money off all of these things. You're probably still making some shekels off these things. So he'll never delete them. So
no, he still makes money. He's claimed that half of his income is all still residual YouTube money.
Gotcha. So he's still making money either which way. You want to sit here and call a group of people who present you evidence, liars, and this never happened, this, that, and the third, yet they're still readily available. But there's so much to sift through that he's banking on no one's going to go back and look. And if it is a detractor, who cares? Because you guys are all brain dead idiots that hate me and hate my life and want to see me hurt anyway, and so on and so forth. It's funny, ladies and gentlemen, now that I brought that up, that he talks about how much we want to see him hurt, but we never talk about his wife. We very rarely does he ever bring up, oh, they want to hurt my family and this, that, and third, and they want to take everything away from me. It's always, they want to hurt me all the time. It's never the people that are around you. The world is bigger than Phil Brunel. Phil just hasn't received the memo yet.
I mean, when was the last time you heard Phil talk about Cat the way he talks about authentic Italian food?
Never, ever. And ladies and gentlemen, if you guys follow me, you guys know this. That's probably the only way I'm ever going to be able to talk to Phil, is if it's over food. I don't have a chance of talking about anything else.
This guy loves food, loves it. And it's insane. You can get a 5-minute rant about pizza for just being like, hey Phil, I got pizza tonight, it's pretty good. What kind of pizza do you like? Baited.
But the interesting part about that is his love for food, or love for food in general, is right, as long as you're not getting up there and Boogie's weight or wings. But there's nothing wrong with all that. In moderation. Everything's in moderation. But
oh no, enjoy the finer things in life.
Yeah, absolutely. But for people who love food like that, you tend to want to learn how to make it. Like, I, for example, bought a you guys, it bowls by, but I'm gonna use it. I bought this ice cream crank. It basically, I found it on Amazon. It's like I don't know, like $30 or some shit. It used to be like $200.
Oh yeah.
And all you do, ingredients in, yeah. And then you crank it, and then over time it'll basically generate ice cream and shit. And so I like the idea of making my own ice cream, because every time I go to, or I've been to, I should say, because I haven't been in a while, like a Marble Slabs or a Cold Stone or any other ice cream shop that's around you, depending on where you're at, they never give me enough goddamn peanut butter. I'm sorry, they never give me enough peanut butter. Every store that I've gone to. Rant time. Every store I've ever gone to when it comes to peanut butter ice cream, there's never enough peanut butter in it. I don't know why. I'm a fiend for this shit, but I love it. And there's never enough. The only cake I've ever had, peanut butter cake I should say, that I've truly been satisfied by, was the one that my mother made, and that's it, actually. The only one that my mother made. Because even the local cake shops around us, they do make peanut butter cake. They'll do a special order. There's never enough peanut butter in that shit for whatever reason, and it irks me because I love peanut butter that much, and I don't even know why. Because I'm not even a peanut butter and jelly type of sandwich type of dude, but for some reason, peanut butter cake, peanut butter ice cream, peanut butter pie, I will literally fight every soldier in Russia if I had to. That's how much I love that stuff, and there's just never enough. So I bought this thing to make my own peanut butter ice cream, and it's everything that it should be. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Granted, though, I'm going through like two tubs, or not tubs, but I'm going through like 2 jars of Jif to make a single batch of ice cream. But it's worth it. You can judge me all you want, but it's worth it.
I got a pro tip for you. Crumble up some candied bacon into that bad boy, and some like chocolate chips, some dark chocolate. Yeah.
Oh, I need that. Okay, we're writing that down. So crumbled bacon, and you said dark?
Yeah, crumbled candied bacon and some dark chocolate.
Oh, I just sent a tub of that to Cat.
Maybe even some like fudge ripple in there too.
Oh, that sounds like a delicious idea.
Right?
Holy shit. That'll work. But sorry for that rant. But I love peanut butter. I'm sorry. But for someone who can critique the way he does, and he doesn't do it properly, it's whatever. It's food. You can kind of freestyle it any way you want. He can't cook a lick. Making a sandwich is not cooking, ladies and gentlemen. I know a meal can be anything, and it can theoretically. You know what I'm saying? You've had a long day at work, and you want to make yourself like a tuna melt or something. Cool. But like when I think of, I guess for me, when I think of cooking, right? Like I guess it depends on what I have, but I like to try to make the best of what I have, depending on how I feel, mainly because like sometimes I just want to have a sandwich. So I usually keep like a French bassinet around, and I usually have some capicola, some spicy turkey, boar's head, obviously, or whatever my local butchery has. I usually keep some stuff around for a sandwich or whatnot, but I don't consider that cooking. It's a sandwich. It's just something you're tossing together, right?
Yeah, it's a quick fix, if you will.
Yeah, but like for me though, like if I said I was gonna cook something, like had a fucking long ass day, which I've had a lot. Like I'll whip up some linguine real quick. I usually keep them like chicken breast somewhere, so I'll go ahead, splash some red wine in. You know what I mean? Saute it really nice, make sure it's well seasoned and whatnot, and throw that together with, I don't know, like so I usually keep some like some garlic bread around, or like I said, I'll just cut that bassinet up, and you know what I'm saying, you just freestyle it, you put it together. It is what it is. It might not seem a lot, or it might seem a bit rustic, but it's you get from it what you put into it.
Yeah, there's definitely that kind of a meal where you just kind of have to throw it together because you're tired, it's been a long day, or there's doing something like I'm doing tonight, and I planned this days in advance. I'm going to have some maple glazed pork chops with, a little mustard Dijon side with some roasted potatoes and veggies to go with it. And it's a whole ordeal. I'm going to take hours to make a meal for, Mrs. Proper and I. Because it's an event. It's an experience. It's something I do because I care about myself and
I can tell,
how others feel.
And Mrs. Proper, obviously. But, like, my only concern is, why was I not invited to dinner when I made special agent status? I'm a little bit hurt by that.
Oh, those dinner parties will come. I'm sure of it.
Fair enough. But,
invitations are going to be in the mail very soon.
I appreciate it. But there you go. It's putting the time in, even for something like that, something you planned out days in advance. He can't even do that. And it's not even just the fact that he can't do it, but he's not willing to learn how to do it, which is one of the most basic things.
The funny thing is that he does plan meals in advance. In some of his old videos, you see on his little calendar, Sunday, spaghetti sauce night. Tuesday is lasagna, or on Fridays, like pizza. And he does plan it out, but there's no thought or care put into it. That's why, that one day he woke Panda up out of her flu coma to go make him din din. He's too lazy to put in effort anymore.
That's crazy. Oh, well, and he... how did you think that was going to be okay to say that?
Yeah, to say it to your audience, hey, I'm going to go wake up my significant other because she needs to, bitch, get back in the kitchen. I mean, who the fuck says this?
It hurts me.
It does. And it's one of those things that it's going to happen to Cat eventually. Like, when's the time he's going to be like, oh, I'm sick of turkey burgers. I've had turkey burgers for, like, the last 3 months. People are going to be like, wait a second. Isn't Kat supposed to be making your meals? Exactly. Oh, dude, she works all the time at Kohl's. Works all the time.
Exactly. And he can't cover that up. And that's Phil's biggest problem. He's someone who's very impulsive. So he literally just goes with whatever he feels. And because of that, he lets stuff slip because he's not thinking. You know what I mean? For someone who's as intelligent as Phil says he is, and you find this with people who think extremely highly of themselves to the point where it's almost beyond arrogance. They're almost the easiest people to trip up because all you need, actually, it doesn't really require patience. It's just catching them off guard, and it's very easy to catch Phil off guard. If there's no build up, then Phil can't put his guard up. He's done after that. He's done. He's literally a fish out of water, just kind of flapping along and shit until he's out of air, because he has nothing else. And that's scary for someone who's been on this planet as long as he has, and you have no basic communication skills. You're definitely lacking in critical thinking. Just because you can rip off a bunch of kids / people of their money doesn't mean that you're smarter than them or you're better than them. And I propose, as of late, that it really comes from sympathy. And if that's the case, that should hurt. Because now it's not about you. It's not about your content, I should say. The thing that draws them in. It's because they feel so bad for you that they don't want to see you out on the street. That's what it comes down to now. So now he says, I have this audience and I love them and I love the interaction and this, that, and the third. And really it's just a bunch of people who can't sleep at night with the idea that you might be out on the street the next day because you've indoctrinated them with that. You've implanted that into their subconscious, so now they have no choice but to believe. And even if they don't want to lose what little bit of faith they have left in you. And that's scary.
Yeah, that's why they still call him a cult leader. It's because somehow he still has a following through all of his slip-ups, all of this, nonsense and shenanigans. He somehow still has people who show up and try to support him. But I just don't get how somebody who was so involved with constant improvement and that kind of a system to not try to implement it into his own life.
If you think about it, he kind of did. Let me give you a quick example. The Billionaire Boys Club, this group that it's a long story, but the leader of that group is an ordinary person. He has no exceptional abilities. He's not super charismatic. He's none of these things. His father was either a psychologist or a sociologist or something along those lines, and he used to make his son read these self-help books. Basically. And so he basically was conditioning his son into anything you want to do, you can do it. What his son ended up doing was, well, that's too hard. But if I can condition other people to believe that, they'll be indebted to me because they didn't have that before. That's all Phil did. All Phil did was find a group of people, whether they are disabled, whether they just have low self-esteem, whether there's a bunch of different categories of people when you look at his fan base. It's a melting pot of, I don't want to call them misfits because it's being rude, but
degenerates.
Some of them, a lot of them actually.
That's for sure.
Definitely, that's for damn sure. It's a group of people who need to be followers.
Yeah, they need a leader. I mean, people like Planet Jeff, he needs somebody like Phil. Because, if Phil wasn't around, he wouldn't have anybody to keep him company because, sadly, his wife passed away.
Yes.
And now he supports Phil because, for some reason or another, he has found some form of comfort in him.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to sound egregious, but I guess you could say that need to be needed is filled by Phil, if that makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, say the man's lost his wife, and now he's kind of alone, and he's missing something. It's not just the fact that he's lonely, but it's the need to believe that you're needed. And Phil fulfills that.
Oh, just yeah, like he tells his whole audience, you know, at least almost every 15 minutes during the pre-stream, I need your help. I need to make my bills paid for. He needs this and that.
And these buzzwords ring inside of these individuals. And which would happen if you've been indoctrinated like that, if you've been conditioned to kind of fall into place like that. The problem is the detractors disrupt it. And that's why he keeps saying periodically, ever since he put out the olive branch, oh, if these guys would just give me a break. Oh, if these guys would just back off. You know, so on and so forth. To where they're only listening to Phil. And that's what Phil's trying to do now. The thing is he has to find another medium. He's not good enough anymore. Okay, so my parents are sick. Okay, that right there is starting to become flimsy because some of the detractors are starting to see through some of that because of what I've said previously. Okay, well, me and Kat got married. Okay, cool. Now I don't want to lose my house because now if I lose my house, where are me and Kat going to live? Now he's banking on one of two things. Well, three things, actually. Either this girl is really, really sick and she was sick before, you know, she got there with whatever. I don't even want to jinx her with what it could be. Either that girl is really, really sick, that girl is pregnant, or Phil's going to try to bring up some type of mystery illness on his own. Now, some of you guys may not actually remember that. Back in 2017, right before he revealed to us in November his issue, his problem, he had hinted that he had some health issues behind the scenes too that he didn't want to talk about. He said he would at a later time and date. But see, this whole tax scam thing worked out so damn well, and then he had the fucking luck of the escort saga popping up to giving him a counterbalance, but yet still drawing sympathy to him. It's amazing how things fall into place for him. Like, you can't write this shit. Like, you can't. If I wrote a book, just on the almost 2 years, holy shit, it's been almost 2 years. Almost the 2 years that I've been following Phil. If I could write a series of books just from this shit. A series of books. Which is the reason why my videos are so damn long.
Right? I mean, that's what happens when you make a 2-hour-long video, because you just get just overwhelmed by the vast pool of content to pull from.
Yeah, and so that's why when Robin Zeff, when he heard my first broadcast, he was like, okay, this is a lot. The reason why is if, to some degree, it depends on who does it. Like Tevin, I think he's way more concise. Same thing with Theo. Whereas me, I'm kind of just carrying over from the next broadcast, and I'm kind of, I used to think, okay, well, if you may have watched that last broadcast, I'll give you some quick cliff notes, and then let's jump back in. Now I try to give you backstory, which works out, actually. But if you're not completely tied up on it, how are you supposed to look at a situation? You would just be like, this is pure insanity. There's no way that this is happening to one guy. But it does. You know what I mean? And even Phil doesn't like it. Phil doesn't like the fact that he has this much attention or all this nonsense. The problem is, this is the cost to be the boss. You wanted to be the realest dude on YouTube, and you wanted to be able to shit on everybody else and believe that you were better. And you have this moral code, if you will. So now you got to live with that. And the thing is the real Phil Burnell, he doesn't have this type of energy. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have the type of energy for it. Like, think about it. The tractors before us, the class before us, they made videos depending on what the big situations are. Our generation, our class, just about every goddamn thing is a big situation. And you got enough people daily who have the energy to put behind it. And if not on a daily basis, then you have people like yourself, LSB, who can concentrate all of that nonsense into something concise, something consistent, and something weekly. So it kind of opens up the genre a little bit, because now you can branch out. Do you want short and concise videos, Snorpinell, Mighty D, Mr. Huffstuffs? You have that. Do you want something a bit more long-winded? You have Theo, you have Argent sometimes, you have Tevin, and then you have James Lesser, you have myself sometimes. You have that. If you want something a bit more compact, James the Lesser goes right back into that. Then you have yourself. Then you have LSB. Then you have a bunch of other people coming in to that situation. Phil can't compete with that anymore.
Yeah, he should be getting a little more scared about how much traction every detractor's starting to pull right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I saw a new channel pop up called DSP Sucks.
Yeah,
and he's on the rise already. And, you know, Robin and Zephyr are new to the game still, and they're on the rise. They're almost to 100 subs.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hit, 220-ish now. Thanks to you for that little plug. So,
no problem.
Just, I've started to end up, thank you, by the way. That's great.
Oh, no, you're welcome, man. Don't think nothing of it.
But I was trying to refocus recently the whole Pig Roach files into trying to dredge up a lot of his, debunking and the stuff that he says there's no evidence for it.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm sitting here going, I remember what happened. I know where it is. And if I find it, sorry, Mr. Pig Roach, you are fucked.
Exactly. And if you think about it, let me just, or at least the way I was thinking about it. For a long time, Phil was damn lucky that he had SOK. Because SOK, if you think about it, was the buffer. They were basically Pandora's box. As long as they were there, right, and they had, or at least as long as they had control, he didn't have to worry about anybody else really stepping out and really going at him on a regular basis. Because Phil was watching those guys back then. He knew what that stuff was, and he probably had a good idea of what kind of control they had. Because when it all dissolved, where was Phil at? Oh, my major detractor group is gone now. All those years they harassed me and this, that, and the third, they're got nothing to worry about. Oh, now people are starting to believe me. It sounds to me like at first, as a natural reaction, as an initial reaction, he was happy that power struggle, or that power group was dissolved. But then he didn't realize. He's happy that the initial group is dissolved. So in his head, he's like, okay, now I'm just going to wait for the next person to step up. But instead of it being one person, it's a whole group of individuals who end up stepping up with no leadership. He's dealing with a whole different group of detractor now. And he can't pinpoint anything. He doesn't want to reach out to nobody. And more importantly, because we're almost like anonymous, we're almost like we're all splinter groups amongst ourselves. Each group works on their own, and yet everybody can benefit because they're going to bring all their information right back.
I mean, what happens? Say, Tevin goes down for whatever reason, gets deplatformed. Well, guess what?
Right.
LSB's sitting right there. And I'm sure he wouldn't mind stepping in. And I'm sure other people, James the Lesser, myself, Soma Julius Cruz, anybody who kind of streams about DSP would immediately fill any kind of a void. And it's not about making extra cash. Nobody cares. Because we're all hardworking adults who actually make a decent income. This is a hobby for a majority of us. So nobody cares who's stepping up, and nobody cares who's next in line. It's everybody's going and reaching a hand back down to pull the next guy up.
And exactly. And that's what scares Phil. So let's say, hypothetically, right, God forbid, that Tevin, for whatever reason, decided to hang it up, or if he was deplatformed or whatever silly shit that would end up coming about. God forbid any of that. Because you need Tevin, believe it or not. Like, Tevin's essential in a way that I don't think the community doesn't dissolve if Tevin leaves, but we're worse off for it, if that makes sense. But
it does.
Yeah, that's a personal opinion though. But let's say, for example, he does end up falling for whatever reason. Okay, he falls, and then all of you guys step up. LSB, Dark Dave, yourself, James the Lesser, even Theo. All of you guys start stepping up. Now Phil has a whole nother problem because now instead of focusing on one person, now he's got like 5 or 6 people. Now he has 5 or 6 people who have, I don't know, 5, 6, 700 viewers each. So now in a single night, you have 6 people who are beating you by double-digit numbers that you can't mess with. And how do you attack all of them? It's easier just to be like, it's Tevin's fault, it's Tevin's fault. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to call out 6 different detractors on your stream who are restreaming you with people who are bored, pissed off, and irritated by you, so they can do what? Go over and watch their streams now? Now you're really screwed. Now you went from being the center of attention to being the point of the entertainment. And Phil can't live with that. And that's why I think Phil tries to back off of Tevin so much. Because Tevin's numbers have been growing as he's streaming.
Oh yeah, I saw him. And he's in almost touching 2K numbers right now. And LSB is beating DSP nightly now.
Exactly. Like it's only gonna be a matter of time until Els hits 1,000. You know what I'm saying? He's batting. What is he batting right now? He's batting 400, 500. It ain't gonna be long. It's not gonna be long until he's hitting 700, 800. What does Phil do then? Because now you've got to look at Tevin as like Mufasa, if you will. Now you got a bunch of young lions out here that are waiting, and have the know-how and delivery to really hurt you, at least socially, I should say, can socially hurt you, and you really can't say nothing back. And because they're all up-and-comers, you don't want to shout them out, because if you do, now you have a whole new group of people in your chat who will be like, well, let me go over there and see what they're about. And LSB is a likable person, so it's very easy to go over there and stay there. Now what do you do? Now you've taken one Tevin, going back to my original thesis, you take one Tevin, and now you got 6 of them. Each one of them, their own personality, their own. So now you've given people, as I've been promoting on the channel lately, you've given people options. And that right there is one of the biggest enemies of Darkside Phil, is options. Because when the gaming community started to really open up in its early days, and people were going to direct capture and all this, that, and the third, he still had a chance to be ahead of the pack. But when all of those options came up, when all of those individuals were willing to go the extra mile that Phil wasn't, he was screwed. And he couldn't do anything else.
Yeah,
he wouldn't do anything else.
He's going to have to try to become part of some sort of protected against free speech group. He's going to try to have to live in this echo chamber. But he's good at it. He's done it for years. So that it wouldn't be the death of Phil. That's for sure. He would still be there.
That's true. But at the same time, it only opens him up to be exploited. Let me give you guys an example. Look at Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny, like a month or 2 ago, came up out her face and said that if you are not giving money on Twitch, you're a leech. This, that, and the third. The most silliest shit she could have ever said. That shit made it all over Reddit, made it over NeoGAP, made it all over fucking 4chan, made it all over. Then all of a sudden, most of you guys might not know this, then all of a sudden, her name starts getting paired up with DSP. Oh, that's some DSP type shit. Now, this is where things get interesting. I think she started to look into DSP. And she saw this, and she's like, I can benefit from this. I can turn this around if I play my cards right. Now, if you guys don't know, Bad Bunny is cool with Destiny. And if you guys don't know who Destiny is, that's a whole nother can of worms in itself. But, yeah, but Destiny, I'll say this. Destiny's not stupid. And he knows how to take advantage of his opportunities. Bad Bunny's no different. So now, Bad Bunny went from being that chick to come out her face and say this, and then show that taco meat. She for going off and showing that nonsense. To now, she's one of the top people on Twitch who shows DSP content and did it smart. did it through the detractors. So now it's beneficial because, one, she has short and consistent videos that have a lot of information that she can laugh at. She's going to get money from it because now Phil's former detractors and pay pigs are over there chilling with her. And 3, the detractor community benefits because it's exposure from a whole new group of people who didn't know who DSP was or weren't familiar with him. She's played the situation smart. Everybody profits in the way she's doing it. Just like to your point earlier, where these retrospective streams, screw that. Start doing detractor streams. The money's there. You won't do it because you're scared. But yet, you have Bad Bunny who's taking advantage of that. Now, here's the thing that most of you guys aren't thinking about. Bad Bunny is part of this nice little network, this little nexus of individuals who do basically reactionary content. That's what she does. It's only going to be, and they're all partnered. There's only going to be a matter of time until they start easing their way into that situation too. So now he's built, because of a misstep, now you have a whole nother group of possible, not detractors, but enthusiasts who found Phil and find that, you know what, laughing at him is profitable. I'm not going to do it every day because there's already a group of people that do that. And I don't want to be labeled a detractor. But that detractor content is sure as hell funny, and it's definitely informative. I think I can make this work once or twice a week, which is kind of what Bad Bunny's doing. She doesn't want to fully commit, and she's smart for that. But every once in a while, she does it. You know, she throws it up a couple times a week, and the money rolls in real good. And
it's a drip feed system right now for her, and she's smart because she goes over there, splashes a little bit of his former pig's money back onto the pig roach for a reaction that we all know Phil doesn't want any part of because he's scared of. And then, you know, she goes back and she's raking in cash right now. And it's so funny to watch because she's a partner. And, well, you stream too much of Phil's content over there on Twitch and you harass him too much by showing up and talking to him in stream chat, all of a sudden you might go ahead and find yourself the next victim of the DSP curse.
Exactly. So instead, throw a little bit of money his way, have some of his former pay pigs come over to you, give you money, let them naturally go over there and toss your emote at them or at him and whatnot, and keep the pot stirring a little bit in her own little way. Do that, and everything is fine. Pick your spots on when you decide to stream detractor content and keep doing your regular stuff. He is merely another component, another ingredient, since Phil likes to virtually cook. He's become another ingredient in the jambalaya, if you will, which is Bad Bunny. That's all he is. He's another ingredient. And he can't do anything about it because he's scared. So now you're buzzing about these 3 people that you got deplatformed, but now you have another partner who has way more viewership, way more subs, way more followers, maybe, I don't know about followers, but certainly way more subs than you, and now you can't do a damn thing about it.
Yeah, you notice he didn't say anything about Monkey Jones and that whole controversy either. Because he knew if he started talking bad about other partners, that if all of a sudden Bad Bunny disappears, I'm sure a lot of dirt's going to come out from some angry former pay piggies. So, you're on thin ice there, Mr. Pig Roach. What's your next move?
He doesn't have many.
No, he's already said that. He's out of ideas.
He's out of ideas. He's out of plans. He's out of everything. Because now, and because some of you in the crowd are probably still wondering where this is going. Phil's hug box has been invaded from the inside, and he really can't do anything about it. So now let me throw a scenario at you. So as you know, they call me Tex ended up getting back on, but he has to go by a different name, which sucks. He should be able to go back to his original account where he had all those, followers and everything like that and build himself back up. Let's say, for example, through Bad Bunny's influence, a couple of other partners start to look into DSP's content. They're like, you know what? these guys weren't too bad. And Phil told you guys what? Because just in case you guys don't know, the way Phil was able to get Tex and Bill Purnell off was because of their names. Their names is what he used as a catalyst to get them kicked off. We still don't know what he did with Tevin yet, but that's how he ended up getting these two guys removed. Off of their names. Which just because they were a small play on his, he wanted to cry, they're harassing me, and they kicked him off. Now let's go ahead and refocus. What happens if Bad Bunny reaches out to another group of people, or just another group of partnered Twitch streamers come across some detractor content and be like, you know what? I'm gonna play this on stream. Next thing you know, people who are familiar with DSP are like, oh, well, you don't know this backstory, or check this video out, or play this video. Next thing you know, they're looking back and being like, huh, okay. Now, you said he actually has somebody deplatformed? So let's say King of Hypocrisy is in one of their chats. It's like, yeah, he had these three guys deplatformed for no reason, yada, yada, yada. It was bullshit. Okay, well, can you send me, what do you have to prove that with? Do you have something on Twitter or whatnot? They go to Texas Timeline and show the email that he ended up getting from Twitch on why his channel got suspended. Now, granted, ladies and gentlemen, it took him months to finally get that information. They didn't give that to him right away. They just kicked all three of these guys off and didn't tell them shit. So now one of these partners looks at it and is like, well, damn, that's kind of messed up. Well, I got a contact over there now. Hey, would you mind taking a look at this real quick? I got these three guys here get kicked off and over some silly shit, and would you just go back and reevaluate? Now, whoever that admin is, whoever that moderator is, whoever that person is that this individual's talking to, they outrank whoever Phil's sucking off. So now they're like, okay, I'll go ahead and pass this up and we'll see what happens. Next thing you know what? Let those three back on. This was petty. This is petty. We're dealing with real shit. We got thoughts that are being stalked right now. We don't got time to worry about what this asshole's crying about. Now all three of them are back on. Now, and ladies and gentlemen, most of you are like, oh, come on, G, that can't happen. The hell it can't. Low Tier God was suspended for like almost 3 goddamn years, and he came back. Brittany Venti was kicked off a couple of times, and she was able to come back. You can always come back to Twitch. It'll take time, but you can almost always come back. That's what Phil's scared of. Because, I don't know about you guys, but if I was kicked off of Twitch, I'm going to want some retribution. But I'm cunning enough and I'm clever enough to get it in a different type of way. Phil, showing his age in a lot of ways, thinks that, oh, it's all straightforward. No. The real killers are thinkers. They're not doers. They're thinkers. A thinker makes you strangle yourself, believing that if you don't, what's going to come next is going to be worse. Sorry. This is kind of like the Black Ops of the DIA. Don't mind this. I'm sure this will get redacted later. But that's what a real operative does. A real operative basically gives you a choice, and you have to weigh out those choices. In either which way, the choice benefits me at the end of the day, and it fulfills my objective. Phil doesn't think like that, and it's a good thing that he hasn't done a whole lot to the detractor community to piss us all off as a collective. Because if not, he doesn't want what Wings gets. And if, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not seen the Wing Report, shit gets wild over there. They don't care.
I stay out of Wings Land just because of that. I mean, it's rough over there. It's not pretty. I mean, to each their own. I find it hilarious at times. But they are some straight up killers over there. They just crush people.
Exactly. It's Wings is, no matter what you think DSP goes through on a daily basis, you haven't seen anything until you see what the Wings community does. It's some next level stuff over there. It is, and I mean, these are guys really, you're literally a couple of degrees away from somebody really going over there and getting hurt. That's how serious it kind of is over there. So whoever it is that's in control of that, or whatever their council, or whoever it is, the governing body over there, they're certainly keeping those guys regulated, but all you need is 1 or 2 loose cannons, and things can be ugly for Wings. Like, at first, when I did my report about the hookers and the mechanics, mobile mechanics, being sent to his house is kind of funny until you really think about the circumstances. You think about a group of hookers showing up to his house at 3 o'clock in the morning. You think about the pimp waiting outside in the car and who's expecting his money. You're thinking about that mobile mechanic that had to drive 3 hours from wherever he's from to come out here at 2 o'clock in the morning to fix your brakes and come to find out, oh, it's just a prank, bro. Sorry. No, there is no sorry for that 6-hour round trip. You see what I'm saying? Like, you have to think about these things and where these guys were going with it for a little while. That's scary. That's really, really scary. And even reporting it, I want to be careful because you don't want to glorify it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing as like reporting and letting the names out of, say, somebody who just went on a killing spree. I don't feel like even whispering your name because I just don't agree with what you've done. So, I would call people out on it. I don't have any problem telling somebody that they're in the wrong because I overall want people to be better as individuals, but I know that shit goes sideways, and when it goes too far, at what point to pull the reins back?
Exactly. And so for all the harassment that Phil has gone through, I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, as myself, as Agent Proper, as others eventually will start digging into Phil's past, you're going to see, because most people wonder, how is it that he can convince people to give him money all the time, day in, day out, this, that, and the third? Because back in the day, ladies and gentlemen, he convinced these same individuals, some of them anyway, to go after game writers, to go after developers that he felt that wrong, to go after people who trolled him online. He's been weaponizing his fan base for years. For years. He had them do the dirty work and make him look big. Make him look like the Italian mafioso that he tries to present himself when he's mad. He's done this. He's taken any angle that he could have taken, whether by hook or by crook, he's done it. When he cries about sponsored streams or sponsored gigs or whatever, he's done advertisements for companies. He's been given free stuff. Why is it different then as it is now? Let me give you an example for some of you guys who are a hip hop head. It's just like when KRS-One went at Nelly. And remember, if you guys remember, probably a little, not even halfway through this, Nelly was like, I don't have guns on my I'm not sitting there toting guns on my record cover and whatnot. I'm not over here talking about drugs and all this nonsense, this, that, and the third, but it was hip hop when you did it. So how's what I do not hip hop now? Oh, it was okay to do it back then. It was cool for it to be glorified, but why is it not okay now? And I don't do what you do. I'm a businessman. You know what I'm saying? So on and so forth. And the whole point of that was of how the hip hop business was starting, or how hip hop was starting and where it ended up becoming now. At the end of the day, hip hop has always been corrupt in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's from the labels itself, or usually through the labels, or the people behind it. And just in case you didn't know, behind the rap game has always been drug money. And don't let nobody tell you different. It's always been drug money. So just take that and move with it. I'm sorry. It eventually gets clean. That money eventually gets clean, but it's almost always been drug money. But the point being is that no matter what Phil has done, it doesn't matter what Ninja's done, Dr. Disrespect, Shroud, any of these dudes that are doing it now, that are doing it big and making their money, Phil at one time was benefiting in the same way. Keep in mind, there's a whole lot more zeros in play now, but that doesn't mean he didn't have his opportunities, he didn't participate, he didn't profit. What Phil's mad about is he can't profit now. What Phil's mad about is he didn't make the money that they're making. And that's why he looks at it as corrupt. Because why couldn't that money been available to him back then? Why couldn't those opportunities on the larger scale be available to him back then as it is now? It's just a child lashing out.
Yeah, and that's all he's going to be until he's puts, it all away and decides to take his presence off the internet. Which we both know his ego is far too big to go ahead and do. But what do you say we wrap this bad boy up and see what's on the horizon for you? What you have coming up soon? I mean, I just saw your 3-hour-long debunking video. Fantastic.
Thank you. I promise you, I didn't think it was gonna be that long. I really didn't.
It has to be if you're gonna do it correctly. Because I've been looking into doing my second part of that whole thing, and I've been digging for 2 weeks to find what I want to present.
Yeah, it's gonna be the second part's gonna be so much longer. But I didn't think the first part was gonna be that. But as for future plans, since I have a channel/network video coming up, I'm gonna go over a brand new layout and the new format for the most part. So I'll be putting all that out there, who people can contact if they want to talk to my sources and so on and so forth. So that'll be a thing. It's really mainly just a feedback video, but I don't want to give it all up. And then from there, hoping to start interviewing, to be honest. Start trying to get people from the Gentleman's Club, which is the derivative that's over there on Golden Triangle Gaming. And just get a chance to kind of talk to people, get a chance to talk to some of the people in the audience. Like, as I know most people want to talk to other detractors and so on and so forth, and that's all well and good. But I also feel almost an impulsive need to speak to the people who watch you every day. Because those are the people who, like yourself, to be honest with you, Agent Proper, you've been around. You've been around for quite a long time. So you know, like G Money, he's another one. He's watched Phil for a number of years. So there's people in the audience who have been audience members for a long time, who have their own inputs. And I want to hear them. I want to hear what drew you to him, what caused your shift, what caused you to drift away from not just him, but YouTube for a little while. What brought you back? Do you like what you see? Did you think back then he would have ended up the way he is now? And I think it'll be interesting for people to hear those responses. I think, and it's just my own personal opinion, that's only because I've always looked at this as this isn't going to be something that I do in the long term. Whether I want it to or not, it's not. And if I treat it that way, that my time is going to be short, it's more meaningful to myself. However other people take it is how they take it. But if I keep that type of mindset that I want to try to do the best that I can while I'm here, it means more. So if you can, like you said, if you can reach back and pull the next person up, another content creator, someone who might not even want to make detractor content, may just have an opinion, someone who may want to start a YouTube channel but don't know where they want to go with it. I want to try to ask you the questions to get an understanding of who you are as an individual. Now, I'm putting you in front of an audience, if you will, who out of, I don't know, maybe 100 of them, maybe only 10 see you. But that's 10 that weren't there before. You know what I mean? It gives you, I want to try to start doing something along those lines. People have asked me, would I be willing to restream? Maybe. We'll see. I kind of want to do the E3 thing on Monday, to be honest. Just in case you didn't know, the E3 is Monday. Kind of want to see that. Just because I want to see the debacle.
I mean,
but if not, I'll do a reaction video or something to it probably, because I think PlayStation broke off, so they're not going to actually be doing panel. I think they're doing their own thing, so that only leaves Xbox.
Yeah, a lot of different places have been breaking off. I mean, you got your Nintendo Directs, and Google just announced their own gaming platform.
Yes.
So, I mean, this year's E3 is going to be interesting just for what's going to be the next step forward. As everybody knows that the console cycles, their life cycles are ending. Are you going to make the change and try to push PC? Are you going to go ahead and stand pat and push out another console because of how easy they are to use? It's going to be intriguing to watch, but, as we know from majority of the years past, E3 has been full of pretty much disappointment for a lot of people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially once when they banned, not banned them. I guess that you could kind of say they put, restrictions on cosplayers. That killed it. because as someone who has friends who cosplay, yum yum. Anyway, as having friends who cosplay, I will tell you that E3 was a big thing for them for like 3 or 4 years. Like that was the place to show off the goods, if you will, and there's sponsors everywhere. There's sponsors everywhere. So that's a perfect place for someone to be like, do you have a card? Do you have an email address? Can I talk to you? I want to talk to you. I want to do business. And it would happen on the regular. A lot of the cosplayers who are big now, they had their breaks, if you will, from E3. And now E3 doesn't do that anymore. So now E3 is going to it's going to turn into a hug box, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of circle jerking for the most part. I mean, kind of like what is going on with Apple's whole showcase. You release a $700 stand for an iPad.
$1,000.
Oh, sorry, $1,000 for a piece of plastic. You know what?
A piece of plastic.
Nobody cares anymore. I mean, somebody put out an ad that was like for one of a high grade monitors, and it was just like, you know, hey, this is all what you can get for $1,000 or a piece of plastic. And it's like it's insane of how many people kind of buy into this kind of stuff, and they want to collect these materialistic, you know, goods that somehow make them far superior to other people. But then there's people like us who go, yeah, that's nice, but you know, you could have went on a week-long vacation on a cruise ship into the Mediterranean for funsies for that amount of money.
Exactly. That's going to last a whole lot longer than that stand's going to. Let's be honest.
Right.
So, but those are kind of my plans and whatnot. I'd like to try to get back into doing special broadcasts again. Just trying to be as consistent with the content as possible, but also continue to evolve with it. You know what I mean? Like I guess I never really thought about it till maybe, I don't know, a couple nights ago, to be honest. But I'm sitting there with Asian GTG and Kevin, and we're all like, damn, we've come away from what we were doing. And I never really thought about it, but when you really do look at it, we did. And there was a lot of stumbles in this, that, third. But we didn't let it hurt us. We just bounced back from it. You know what I'm saying? You take the criticism, and because there's always something good in criticism, and then you move with it as best you can. And it makes you wonder, maybe if Phil had done that, where would he be now? Instead of trying to shield himself from it.
I mean, that would be an interesting reality to live in. Would be, you know, Phil on, you know, the face of Twitch.
Yeah, that'd have been wild. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because, well, I don't want to let that out the bag yet. But I have a series though. I have a series that I'm gonna start, and then eventually I'm gonna start inviting guests into. Think of it as like a what if series. Your name's already on the list, so don't even worry about it. But I
appreciate that.
I think you'll like it because I was given a piece of gold. We all were actually on Tevin's stream a little while ago when he brought up that at first, originally, Phil didn't actually monetize his pre-streams. They weren't even uploaded on his channel. And the only reason why he did that was because he found out that someone else was uploading it and monetizing it. So think about how history could have been different. If Phil never found out, he would have kept doing his streams on Twitch, maybe. He may have never left. Or if he did leave, he'd just stay on YouTube and continue doing his thing. Never would probably have to worry about the false copyright claims, which in turn, he never have the decline in money. And then you can just keep rolling it on from there. Like, it was that one event of Phil taking that person's channel down and getting them kicked off YouTube. So don't let Phil make you think, or let him let you think that he didn't have any power back in those days as a content creator. Or let me reword that. He didn't misuse his power influence, because he did, to his fullest extent. he not only had that person's channel taken down and that person kicked off, but then he took that person's idea and used it for his own benefit. Years later, because of all the dissent and all the problems that people had with him, they ended up targeting the fan art. Fan art ends up leading into a whole other clusterfuck, which causes him to lose between 3 and 7 million views. And from there. But what if Phil never found out? What if Phil just didn't care and just let it slide? What if his greed didn't get the best of him over those pre-streams? If it hadn't, we may have not had the flapping situation. We may have not had a lot of things. History could have been completely different from that one event. That's kind of scary. Well, it's not scary. It's crazy to think about, actually.
Yeah, it's interesting that like just a little tip of the scale has translated into such big movements over time.
Exactly. And that's what makes Phil an interesting case study, to be honest, to be more formal about it. That's what makes him what he is. Because it doesn't take much. It only takes, literally, a degree of separation to make him completely go off the rails. And that right there, I think, is the overall legacy of anything else, of the detractor channels in general. And my channel, to some extent, is the fact that it didn't take much to make him move. It really didn't. He can sit there and say all these gay ops were happening. He could say I was manipulating all of you. He could say anything that he... But at the end of the day, it was his hand that was pushing that pen across that paper. Just because I predicted what he was going to say doesn't mean I have an actual influence on what he wrote. But anyway, sorry. But that's my general thoughts moving forward, though. And then just working on the second channel.
Oh, nice. You're going to start live streaming over there a little bit more?
I might as practice. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Be careful. It does get addicting. It's fun to interact with your own audience, and actually do it properly.
That's what I'm scared of.
But otherwise, yeah, I'm over here. I've got a new episode of the Pig Roach Files being edited right now, and that should be up. And that's going to be about this whole mod situation.
Oh, nice. What are the future plans that you have on the channel?
I got some more live investigations I want to do. And I'm trying to dig through and compile the evidence so it's a little bit cleaner, so I can just kind of pop into OBS, start a stream, and be like, hey, look at what this is, and this leads to this, and keep kind of going down the trail to be like, this is stuff that needs to stay relevant in the the DSP verse. It was fun last time, that's for sure, because I cut loose and I had a couple drinks and had some good times, and it was fun to kind of try to filter through some of these sludge that he produces.
Yeah, actually, I did see that. You were a little bit more aggressive in a way that I hadn't seen before, and it was done well. Like it's funny because like I always imagine if Phil says something just off the cuff that was offensive, like how you would react to it. And I think I saw at least a glimpse of it the last time. Like, don't be wrong, you were still calm, cool, and collective and to the point, but it was almost, you were a bit more aggressive. You almost like you must have unbuttoned the top two buttons on your shirt there, because it was definitely much more a much stronger approach. Certainly way a little bit more pinpointed, and to see you tear him up was something impressive. It was almost like watching pulled pork be kind of forked away from each other before you add the barbecue sauce. It was definitely well done, very well done.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that, and I think that's the direction I want to go with those live investigations. I want to keep Pig Roach Files kind of focused on the past and very professional and clean. And then I want the investigation side of it to be more like, this is what it takes for somebody like me to dive into Phil's content and dig up what little I can to show you guys how it works, how somebody like me functions and sifts through everything and then wants to present it.
Yeah, I think people will find the appreciation for it. Because a lot of people don't know, and when I say they don't know, I don't mean it in Phil, like the way Phil does. Like, you guys don't know what I have to do to make this run. Forget all that nonsense. I think a lot of people don't really know how to start or really take into account, I should say, what it takes to deep dive through Phil's shit. Because most people, you get that 15, 20 minutes of a Phil video, of a detractor video. You might get 3 or 4 of those a day, and then you move on with your day. But what if you're really trying to point out what he said is a lie, and I can prove it, but this is what it takes to prove it? I think people are becoming more and more fascinated in that. And I think people are starting to become more and more fascinated with the lost years, if you will.
There are some lost stuff that's out there, and I know it is, and that's the point for the investigation series, is to try to find some of this stuff. Like, he has an old DSP highlights channel. He has some other... Yeah, it's out there. There's a channel out there called DSP Highlights, which has some of his older content on it, buried into the bowels of YouTube.
Holy shit.
I mean...
How many channels did he have?
I've found 6 or 7 channels. So, it started with his DSP Gaming, or his Dark Side Phil channel. Mm-hmm. And he got his AdSense banned from that. So he made... His idea was to make a gaming network. Yes. Originally. So he had Red Dead DSP, which got hacked. And then he had DSP's like Final Fantasy 13 channel and DSP Street Fighter at the time. Right. And his Final Fantasy channel got hacked as well, which is hilarious. And then he had this DSP Highlights channel, his original King of Hate channel, which there's still some gold there to be dug up, and some other King of Hate vlogs. But I think what I'm going to have to start looking into are some of the older detractor channels, like Queen of Divas vlogs. Yeah. That kind of stuff. I'm sure that there's some untapped gold in there.
Like stuff that they had for a laugh back then, but didn't know how relevant it was going to be later on.
Yeah, somebody probably just recorded a 30-minute rant of Phil's and thought it was just hilarious, so it just sits there untapped.
Like that guy we were just talking about. Oh, that channel we were talking about earlier. DSP Cult Leader. Like I've kind of gone through that channel a little bit, and Vic Voss. Those are old detractor channels. They have some gold in there too.
Yeah, like I want to go and look at some of Slow Beef's, parody videos about Darkside Phil. Those are gold too.
You need to go over. You know what I need to send you if I can find it? I need to send you that Slow Beef podcast he did with a friend of his, talking about DSP. You'd love that.
Yeah, because it's an interesting dynamic, because as far as I know, Slow Beef and DSP kind of started doing playthroughs at the same time. Right. And Slow Beef was like, hey, I'm a Let's Player, like, this is my thing. And Phil tried to kind of piggyback off of him and say, oh, I was the original Raw Let's Player. Meanwhile, there's, people have looked up playthroughs and things like that from, like, 2006.
Yeah, and Phil can't beat it.
Nope.
He can't beat it. And at the same time, he's not expecting... It's weird. He's not expecting anybody to look. It's really, really strange. Like, for someone who doesn't delete any videos himself, unless he has to, why would you think other people would?
Yeah, what happens if I accidentally come across something that just catches lightning in a bottle, and all of a sudden Tevin talks about it, LSB talks about it, and it gets to Phil? I mean, he could be thoroughly screwed.
Yeah. So, absolutely.
And the funny thing is, I do this for fun. I do it as a hobby.
That's all he is. Phil is my ever-changing Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, he is like watching a soap opera. Or, an episode of Dragon Ball Z. We don't know what's coming next. All we know is it's probably going to be entertaining, and you might have to sit through a little filler.
Yeah, and it's not so bad. I like to equate him as it pertains to anime. I look at him as One Piece, because Jesus Christ, One Piece is long as shit. But I still enjoy reading it. I kind of enjoy watching it. He's like One Piece. It's very much that. Like, after the next story arc, it's like, okay, filler, and we're getting to that time of the year. Oh, something big's gonna happen, and he delivers almost to the T.
Right, that's why I expect something big coming now, because guess what? It's quarterly tax time.
Yep. And it's the summer, and when the pig gets hot, that's when problems happen.
Yeah, sweaty piggy feet just don't work out well for that poor guy.
Yeah, he does not work. He, for whatever reason, he loses his damn mind in the spring and summer months. I don't know what it is about him, but he cannot function. He's much more irritated. He's rant heavy, and he just don't think. And then when you get into the fall, he calms down. He tries to become a bit more calculating or just lazy. And then in the winter or at the end of the year is when the big begging comes up.
Oh, yeah, it is great. It's clockwork. It's like, hey, guess what? Hardcore video game season is here. Hardcore begging season starts soon.
Mm-hmm. And that's the reason. And I know a lot of people ask us, because I know people have asked me, dude, why Phil? I think that's one of the greatest questions that was given to me by somebody. But he was like, why Phil? Like, out of all the people you guys can make videos on that you could actually, this guy was commenting on one of our gentlemen's club once. He's like, you two are so talented, why not target somebody else? Why not go after somebody else? And because with Phil, it's always something new. It's always something new. Don't get me wrong, I take my pop shots at. I just started a new series with Wings, but DSP provides something that nobody else can. Like, a lot of people want to throw Amberlynn Reed into, or the Foodie Beauty or whatnot. Nah, neither one of them have shit on DSP. Like, DSP is the lolcow that just keeps on giving. He's damn lucky that I don't do this for profit, because I'd go at his. He's damn lucky I don't turn this into my full-time job, because he'd be screwed. I'd literally have a video a day out, which I almost do now, but I'd have a video a day out on him, and he'd be done. Because I'd literally spend the day debunking everything he says. He wouldn't want that. Because eventually, he's going to have to talk to me. Eventually. Oh, well, no, he wouldn't. See, Wings would do that. Wings would want to have a conversation.
Yeah,
DSP,
Wings has the balls to do it.
Yeah,
he has the balls to approach his detractors. But DSP, nah, he can't take the ego hit. He can't come in and be on an episode of the Gentleman's Club without going out in a body bag.
And because he knows that's what's going to happen.
The thing is that's not my confidence in it. It's just knowing that he cannot communicate clearly to portray anything else except for being a disgusting pig.
Yeah, absolutely. So while hopefully you don't pour him the good scotch, but if you're going to, that's fine. But as you're pouring him the scotch, I'm already in the back with Agent Declan Reed, and we're already laying the body bag out for him. Like, he already knows this. He knows he's going to lose the boxing. I might, if I can muster everything that my special agent status has given me and my training, I might be able to hold off for the first 15 minutes. But after that, we're going to start cutting, because people demand bacon, and I am one to appease. I aim to please. And what is he going to do then? If I can I may not be able to produce dates, but I can certainly produce situations. What are you going to tell me? Oh, I may have said that, but I don't remember. Oh, okay, well, what about this thing with Panda? Oh, I may have said that, but I don't remember. Okay, well, what about this situation right here with John? I don't want to talk about that. Oh, so that must mean it happened. Oh, no, it didn't. Okay, then explain to me what the situation was. Like, for example, the Holy Grail in my book, real quick, if you think about it, we're starting to become specialists, if you think about it, which is kind of funny because we work for an investigation agency. But some detractors are starting to become specialists, meaning that they're starting to master one particular spot or a few particular spots of DSP. I've spent a lot of time, for whatever reason, on this whole John and Howard situation. There's not too much that Phil can tell me that I can't say back to him verbatim, whether he said it or whether John or Howard said it. That's how much time I've gone over those videos. The Holy Grail is the video that Phil made and never posted.
His response video to Howard and John's rant that he posted briefly and took it down almost immediately.
Huh?
I think it was posted, if I remember correctly. It was only up for, say, half an hour.
Does anybody have it?
I've never found it. I've never heard of it being up. I think it was during one of those times where he instantly pulled the plug, and it's probably one of those weird privated videos that if you catch him slipping one more time, I'm sure, just like those Q&A Patreon videos, I'm sure that might pop up.
We're not gonna. I thought he never posted it. I thought he made the video
If I remember correctly, it was like 15 minutes and out. Like, he threw it out there, threw it down, and then all of a sudden realized, oh crap, what have I done? And he pulled the plug.
He pulled the plug on it. Damn. I may never get that.
No, it might be out there in some weird fashion, in some backdoor internet shenanigans. Say, some forum on Reddit or 4chan or what have you. The Encyclopedia Dramatica might have it.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to look. But that's my holy grail, is that response video. That's my holy grail for the most part. Because don't get me wrong, everything else is kind of readily available, but that's my holy grail.
I mean, even if it was just 5 minutes of him just talking shit to Howard and Rambo, that it was just some toxic garbage.
Oh yeah. Or even if I can't get the video, and if I could just get the transcript, if someone took the time to write it down, I'll be happy with that. I will make a broadcast off that.
I mean, it might be a hard search in some kiwi farms, but I know somebody out there could pull it off.
Yeah.
Despite that, it might be just deleted video.
Sadly. Is there, now that I brought that up, is there any one piece of DSP lore that would be considered like your holy grail?
It's tough to think about because I've done it for so long, and I've been around just about every scenario that he's been through. But the one thing that I want to hear from his mouth, which I know other detractors too, like LSP have said it, is how did he meet Kat?
Oh, yeah.
Because we all know the story. We all know that he was going behind Subaru guy's back and pulling Kat out and getting her across the country with his taxpayer, his donations money and running a scheme. But if he ever slips up and says, oh, I met her on Twitter, which I guarantee that's what it was.
Yeah, more likely. She probably slid into his DMs.
DMs, yeah, just like Panda, just like some other of these little thoughts that end up showing up into, hey, just like Bad Bunny did. Showed up in some random way.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, did anybody ever do an interview with Subaru Man? Did anybody ever get that?
People tried to talk to him, but unfortunately, some autistic fucks messed with him.
I see.
They didn't play it cool. They didn't say, hey, man, what do you know? Like, what you want to tell us? No, they went after him in some weird fashion that he couldn't handle, and he closed up shop.
Damn.
That, or I would like some good, juicy stories from Panda Lee. If Leanna ever wants to talk, and if she ever hears this for some reason, she is always more than welcome to hit me up on Twitter and start to talk, because there's some juicy shit from that.
Oh, dude, she has everything. She's like I said, if that John and Howard response video is my holy grail, she by far is Pandora's box. She has everything. She has the keys to Mount Olympus. She has it all. 5 years. She has all of his, because I tried to sift through some of her videos with some of the fellows here. She is, to her credit, her memory's sharp. So every little tick, and she's talked about it in her videos, every little tick, every little irritation, she has it all. She has it all. Like, she has it all. And that's what leads me to believe that he's paying her off. He has to.
He either paid her off, or she just decided to step away.
Well, even if she did step away, Phil. Phil needs certain type of insurances. He needs reassurance that this will never come out. So it makes sense to me that he may throw a couple of thousand at her every month and just be like, they don't even have to have a conversation as long as it shows up.
It'd be interesting yeah, I mean, I've heard that theory before, but it'd be interesting if he was actually floating her some money to go ahead and keep her quiet month to month, and that's why he has to beg so much now. Is because, guess what? That rate's going up because, hey, your detractors are making a lot more money than you are. Yeah.
And Panda's just clever enough to keep her pulse on the detractor community. Because you got to think, every day, or especially me, every video I've made on her for a while, or at least mentioned her price goes up. Because there's more and more people that are looking at Panda's value and being like, oh shit, if they could get an interview with her, that would be something. And she knows that. If nothing else, at least since she's broken up with Phil, that young lady knows what her worth is. I certainly hope so anyway. And that's something dangerous for Phil. Because for once, the one person that he always depended on, and in turn thought would always depend on him, and only, she's now her own woman. She's not that little girl that you convinced to come across country with you. She's her own woman now. And she has her own needs and her own ambitions. And 5 years of being with a piece of shit like Phil makes you wonder, you know what? I gave him some of my early years, not necessarily her best years, but some of her early years. Compensation might be in order.
It very well might be. Well, what do you say? We finish our drinks here and close out this episode of the Gentleman's Club and move on with our nice quiet evenings. I got some lovely home cooking to pursue right now. So
absolutely. So thank you for having me.
No, thanks for doing this again. I appreciate it. We'll have to try to do this a little more often.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Maybe bi-weekly or so. Now that my schedule is more evened out.
Yeah, bi-weekly works if you want to go, or if you feel that monthly is still the thing to go with. Let me know, and just we can work. Yeah. We can always work it out.
We'll definitely figure it out. I think I'll have to get my feelers back out and get some more guests lined up for us.
Absolutely.
So, well, that wraps up this episode of the Gentleman's Club, guys. So, thanks for coming out and enjoying this lovely conversation, and hopefully you guys are inspired to go ahead and explore your sector of detractor of choice and dive in and support whoever you might enjoy at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep your options open. Keep your options open. And there's a lot of up and coming detractors who have a very interesting look on what's going on day to day, and it's worth exploring. To be perfectly honest with you, it's worth exploring. So keep your options open, if nothing else.
Yeah, and we'll catch you guys next time on another episode of the Gentleman's Club. Have a good one out there.
Take care.